close the doors of your mind, the gates of your mind, from all carnal will, all carnal thought, all demonic thought, all the powers of Mastama within your inner being and your inner thoughts and your inner mind that you consumed in the seeds that's been sown in your body throughout the week, throughout your life, from birth to present. And anything in the center of your mind, whether it be hatred, jealousy, envy, strife, complaining, pride, arrogance, sexual immorality, dissension, robberies, anger, fits of anger, in your inner being and your inner thoughts, crude joking, anything within in your mind that doesn't allow you to focus on the bar, on the one who sits in the highest Shemaim Yahuwah Elohim with his Ben Yahusha who sits at his right hand, the one who judges our hearts and our mind, our inward being and our inward parts, from our hands and our feet that we do throughout the week, our yard and our kaf, through our regal, our feet, and where we go. For when we sit in the house, we walk by the when we lie down, we rise up. Our thoughts and our minds should be focused on Him. That the powers of Satan and the powers of Satan all and Abunalek and all the beings of the underworld and Tartarus may not take hold of your body and take control of your mind, and you be at Satan's will to do his will in the earth. So we look at ourselves and we look at our inward being. So today we acknowledge the one on this Shabath, the seventh day, and we say sword, knife, rest, law, word, perfection, the seventh letter of the Aleph. And as we dawn towards the actual first day of the week, we look at ourselves and are looking at our inward being to walk in newness of life. So today we acknowledge the one who made all the heart of the earth, the rivers and streams of the earth, even as the mountain of Yahuwah is going to be established in the top of the mountains and exalted above the highest mountain, the highest heart, and all people are going to flow to it. But the water must flow down first. For even as we look at ourselves, we look at our inward being. So we acknowledge the one Yahuwah Elohim who gives life and understanding to us, in our inner being and our inner thoughts and our inner mind, who searches our kidneys and our liver and our innermost parts of our belly, that we may not breathe out lies anymore, but breathe out truth. Right? So we look at ourselves as that person, that being. So as we move forward in kindness, ahab, joy, peace, patience, meekness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. But we know self-control is what we need. Self-control is what one must maintain throughout their life. And gentleness and faithfulness is what one needs, to complete the birthing process of your new life. Right? So we look at ourselves as that being. Right? So this is the book of Leviticus chapter 2 and verse 1. Yikra, Leviticus chapter 2, verse 1. Leviticus chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, when anyone brings a grain offering, right? If you look at a grain offering, and it says, and as an offering to Yahuwah, his offering shall be of fine flour. He says, why does he say it got to be a fine flour? He said it has to be a fine flour, right? So that word for fine flour is in Leviticus chapter 2. I say Yakra chapter 2 is, word for fine flour is Solath. It's Solath, right? It means what? Meal, flour, fine flour, right? Going back, and it means right here, and it says, it shall be of fine flour, and it says, he shall pour oil onto it, right? Pour oil onto it, and put frankincense on it, and bring it to Aharon's son, the priest, right? And he shall take from it a handful of the fine flour and oil with all of its frankincense, and the priest shall burn this as its memorial portion on the altar, a food offering with a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah. So a food offering, a fine flour with oil doused with frankincense, and to burn it. He said, why would you burn it? As an offering. As for what? A memorial, a portion. It says right here, and he shall take from it a handful of fine flour and oil with all its frankincense, and the priest shall burn this at its memorial portion on the altar, a food offering with a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah. But the rest of the grain shall be for Aharon and his sons. It is the most Qahalath part of Yahuwah's food offering. Right? So you look at all of the food offerings that we just did. We just got through doing a whole bunch of them. Right? You had to present a food offering every single day during Kagmatza. But then you start to see this food offering being offered to Yahuwah on a daily basis. This is a daily thing. And you have to be a certain way in order for this to happen, right? Every single day as a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah, right? So that word for altar, right? Because we know the word for altar, but we're going to do it again, right? That word for altar is mizbeach. You got mizbeach. It means an altar, right? So you look at a mizbeach. Yes, that's like you can stack. Some people would, they had a shulchan. They got to make it. Mizbeach can be made with rocks. It can be made with anything something you put effort into. But all this is a part of what? Mizbeach, right? When you look at the actual photo of it, but we don't have that, right? Because my technology ain't running up. So I ain't got nothing written up, right? So I don't got nothing written up. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 6. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 1. It says, when one of you has a grievance against another, does he dare go to the Torah, the law, before the unrighteous instead of the saints, the Qahalath? Right, so you look at the actual understanding of what it was in times past. They say when everybody was in one place and in Jerusalem, or just even in one place in general, he said, wouldn't you not go to the Qahalath, the saints? Right? Or do you not know that the Qahalath will judge the world? He said, don't you know that? He said, the Qahalath going to judge the world. And he said, and if the world will be judged by you, are you incompetent to try trivial cases? It's trivial. You're going to be judging the world. By what? And it says right here, do you not know that we are the judges, to judge Malachim? We are to judge Malachim. We are to judge these Malachim. What do you mean Malachim? What do you mean judge the Malachim? How much more then matters pertain to this life? So if you have such cases, why do you lay them before those who have no standing in the body? Right? I say this to your shame. You know why? Because people say, I'm in position to judge. Right? But in actuality, shafat, right? Are you really in position to judge? Right? And it says, and that before, it says right here, I say this to your shame. Can it be that there is no one among you who you wise enough to settle a dispute between brothers and sisters and people? But brother goes to law against brother. And that, he says, and that before the unbelievers. To have lawsuits at all with one another is already a defeat for you. So, people say, oh, it's not a defeat. We say, I've won. But then you ask yourself, have you really won? Right? This is Psalms 82:1. This is Psalms 82:1. I don't know where he's going with this. We're going to find out. It's Psalms 82:1. Psalms 82:1. Psalms Tahalim 82:1. And it says, and Elohim has taken his place in the divine council. And in the midst of the gods, he holds judgment. He said, in the midst of the gods. Right? He says in the midst of the Elohims, right? Right. So Psalms 82. Right, going to Psalms 82, the word for gods is Elohim. I'm just going to the actual definition. Because we know that word is Elohim, right? So they're going to Psalms 82. Psalms 82:1. It says, the word for Elohim, it says that word for Elohim is, because we know that word for gods is Elohim, right? So, and it says right here, Elohim standeth in the congregation to judge in the midst of the Elohims, right? So that, because Elohim means what? Rulers, judges, divine ones, angels. How you say Malachim? Do you know that the Qahalath ain't gonna judge the world? Do you know we're gonna judge Malachim? Is it not written in your Torah in Yukonot 10 that I said you are Elohim? Which means you're going to be judging Malachim. You're going to be judging rulers. You're going to be judging divine ones. You're going to be judging goddesses and God and Elohim, God-like people. He said that's what you're going to be doing. He said, and you can't judge these trivial cases. Shafan, he said, you can't judge them. He said, how come we can't judge them? How come some can't judge them? Gods, right? But we just talked about oil, fine flour mixed with oil with frankincense, and then what? You're supposed to burn it on the altar, right? We look at all that, but then we go. This is the book, this is Matthew chapter 25, Matthew 25 and 5. Matthew 25 and 1. Matthew 25 and 1. Matthew 25 and 1. It says, then the kingdom of Shamayim will be like 10 virgins. 10 virgins. Bathula, Alma, right? They say some words are Alma, right? But it says, who took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. They took their manure and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 of them were wise. Is there not a wise person among you who able to settle dispute between brothers and sisters? 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. For when the foolish took their lamps, their manure, they took no oil with them. He said they ain't took no oil. He said they ain't got no oil with them. But the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps. As the bridegroom delayed, they all became drowsy and slept. They all got tired. You know what happened after that? But at midnight, you know, when the near is supposed to be burning, the manure is supposed to be burning, there was a cry. And here is the bridegroom, come out to meet him. Then all those virgins rose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, you know, the ones who were wise enough, give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out. So if your manure is going out, how are you going to judge somebody? When you can't see. When you can't see in the dark. He said, I can't see in the dark. How are you going to judge somebody? When you don't even know. If you're an unbeliever, how are you judging somebody? How are you going to judge a believer, somebody who believes in Yahushua, understand the manure, understand the offerings, understand how it works, and then here you are, don't believe anything, and then you're going to judge somebody who does? That's what the foolish people do. And it says right here, and the foolish said to the wise, give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out. Why? Because they don't understand how to maintain it. They don't understand what it takes. They don't understand the actual, how we talked about, well, how being a Kahan, a priest, is very hard, difficult. You got to make sure everything's aligned to what? So that all your stuff, when you make a petition, everything operates functioning properly. He says, give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out. But the wise answered, since there will be not enough for us and for you, go rather to the dealers and buy for yourselves. He said, buy it for yourselves. But why would he say all that? Right. So this is the book of Leviticus, going back to Exodus, actually. Going back to Exodus chapter 27 and 20. Shemuth Exodus 27 and 20. Shemuth Exodus 27:20. It says, you shall command the people of Yasharal that they bring to you pure beaten olive oil for the light. Right? Pure beaten olive oil. You said, how you get pure beaten olive oil? Olives only appear when the sun. So olives are made by the sun. Right? They beaten and made into oil by the sun. And then guess what you do with the oil? You put it in a bottle. It's all made by the sun. Nothing artificial. Everything's all made by the sun. Why? Because the sun heats it up, turns it into oil, and then guess what happens? It's all made by the shamash, the natural sun that we see. But it says right here, that it says that a lamp may regularly be set to burn. Right, because it's a different type of oil. Because you can't get olives without the sun coming in the summer. And then you got to beat it, and you can't turn it without heat. You can't turn the oil without heat. But it says in the tent of the meeting, right? Outside the veil that is before the testimony, Aharon and his sons shall tend it from evening to morning before Yahuwah. It shall be a statute forever to be observed throughout your generations by the people of Yasharal. Why? Because you need to stay busy. Because as soon as you don't keep your mind in a busy manner, then your lamp gonna go out. Because your menorah needs to stay burning continually. And in order for that to happen, you can't become lazy or idle. And once you do that, it become a detriment to your life. Why? Because if you do that, if you allow it to happen in your heart and your mind, it's gonna turn into something that it's not gonna be good for you. Right? So this is the book of Job. Right, this is the book of Job. This is the book of Job. The book of Aydah, Job. The book of Job, chapter. Right, so this is the book of Job, chapter 34 and verse 1. This is the book of Job, Aydah, chapter 34, verse 1. He said, how are you going to understand all of this? Right, this is the book of Job, chapter 34, verse 1. Then Eliah answered and said, hear my words, you wise men. So these are people who actually got the menorah burning. These are the wise. Who say the wise virgins. The wise Bethula, the Kakam, they got the Hakma on the inside. These are the ones who are able to discern between good and be able to judge properly. It says, hear my words, you wise men, give ear to me, you who know, for the ear tests the word as the palate tastes the food. The ear tastes the word. It tests it. As the palate tastes the food. That word for palate is mouth. As the mouth tastes the food. Just like the mouth tastes the food, the ear tastes food. And where do you find that at? In your mind. You know, where you got your two eyes, your two nostrils, you got your two ears, and you have your mouth. That's where you taste the word at. You test it. And then when you test the word and you eat it, where does it go? It goes into your stomach. You eat it, and it goes into your stomach. And where is that? When it goes into your stomach, what happens after that? You store it up, and things get digested. It has to go through many other things to get to that, that part of your stomach that's supposed to actually produce something inside of you. But then guess what happens if, you know what happens to you? You know how some people say, what happens to you when certain things happen, right? Some things happen on the inside of you, right? It says, let us choose what is right, right? So that's what happens as it goes down your throat, all throughout your body. It's choosing what is right for the body. That's what it's doing. It's choosing what is right. And it says, let us choose what is right, and let us know among ourselves what is good. And then what happens? You take it, and then you understand it, and then you say, okay, let's choose among ourselves what is good for us. Because everything ain't good for everybody. Right? Because people don't understand that, and people just assume that everything that everything that you hear and everything that you understand, you're supposed to just keep it. And that's not actually true, right? Right. So this is the book of, let's stay there. Right. So, yeah. So, and it says right here, verse 5 says, for Eub said, I am in the right, and Elohim has taken away my right. In spite of my right, I am counted a liar. Right. So he's being judged by people who's supposed to be wise. And guess what? My wound is incurable, though I am without transgression. Why? Because he's being judged by wise men. Those who are wise. But they're saying that he has sinned. But he said, I'm without transgression. And then what it says, what man is like Eub, who drinks up scoffing like water? Huh? Now you see why. You'd be like, why does he say don't eat certain things? He said, you drinking like, scoffing like water, like you just drinking it. And then people say things about you, then them say you got transgression. You just drinking it like water. You know, the man of Elohim, when he went and he said, oh, I'm a man of Elohim too. He said, don't eat no water and drink no water. Don't eat no bread and drink no water in this place. But he said, you drinking up scoffing like water. Who travels in a company with evildoers and walks with wicked, who travels in a company with evildoers and wicked men? He said, why would you even do that? He said, why would you be amongst evil men and wicked men and evildoers who saying you got transgressions when you say you ain't got none, who trying to condemn you, and you're tasting it with your ears and your mouth, and it's going in your mind. They say it's actually going in your body, then going down in your other parts of your body, then going to your stomach, and you say you're drinking it like water. And why would you stay around these people like that? It makes no sense. It says, who walks with wicked men? For he has said, it's profit a man nothing, that he should take delight in Elohim. Right? For he said, it profits a man nothing, that he should take delight in Yahuwah. Therefore, hear me, you men of understanding. Far be it from Elohim that he should do wickedness, and from the Almighty that he should do wrong. For according to the work of man, he will repay him, and according to his ways, he will make it befall him. Of a truth, Elohim will do wickedly. Elohim will not do wickedly, and the Almighty will not pervert justice. Right? He will not pervert mishpat. Even though everybody said, I ain't got no transgressions. He said, but why would you hang around people who are saying these things and drink it like water? Right? But he said, doesn't it taste, the ear tastes the word as the palate does the food? He said, that's how you know. He said, how do I know where it's going? How do I know it's going in my body? Because I'm drinking it and I'm testing it with my ear and then eating it. That's how I know it's going in my body. That's the only way it gets inside. Right? It's the only way it gets inside. Right? So this is the book of Psalm chapter 51. Psalm chapter 51 and verse 5. Psalm chapter 51 and verse 5. Psalm chapter 51 verse 5. And it says, behold, I was brought forth. How you say Hankul, right? But I was brought forth in iniquity. That's how we were born. If you were born some other way, right? You say Adam, everybody put on this sinful flesh. Everybody was born in iniquity. You were born with the inheritance of sin. And it says, forth in iniquity. And in sin did my mother conceive me. Your mother conceived you, she was in sin. And then she conceived you with sin. Well, in sin. Because everybody has it. It says, in sin did my mother conceive me. Behold, you delight in truth in the inward being. And you teach me Hakmah in my secret heart. Why? Because you were born in sin. You were born this way. So in order for you to be able to tame this natural man and this body, you need to delight in the bar on the inside, because you were born in sin. There's no way out of this. You delight in truth in the inward being, and you teach me wisdom in the secret heart. Right? So Psalms 51 and 6. Psalms 51 and 6. Tahalim, chapter 51, Psalms 51 and 6 says, that word for, Psalms 51 and 6, that word for inward parts is tukah. Tukah. He said, you delight in truth. That word is tukah. It says in overlaying. It says in your kidneys. In your kidneys. Hence, the innermost thought, the inward parts, in your kidneys. Right? And you know what they say? He said the kidneys what? If you lose one, what happens? He said, I need another kidney. But amazingly, he give you two of them. Well, why would he give you two of them? Because you need 2 or 3 witnesses. You know why you need 2 or 3 witnesses? That every word may be established on what you're going to allow to go in your stomach. Because every word that you hear don't need to be going down through your stomach, because the kidneys actually filter everything out of your body. You don't need to be going. A lot of things don't need to be going inside of you. Like, some things need to be held within those parts of your body that they're like little filters, like you put in your air conditioner. And those things, the air passes through it, and it catches anything that should not be there. You say, how? Then you have to cleanse your kidneys in order for you to reset it, so you can actually filter out again. And if you don't filter out again, then you'll find yourself sick. You'll find yourself sick. Right? So he said, I delight in truth in the inward parts, in your kidneys. And he says, and in the hidden, because you know that word for hidden is satam, right? Satam. The word for hidden is satam. It means to stop up, to repair. Why? To repair. You know when you have surgery? Amazingly, before you have surgery, if anybody has surgery, I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 4. I think 4 surgeries. Not major, only 1, 2 major ones. And then when you ask yourself, they always tell you, what do they tell you before you have surgery? Make sure you don't eat anything. Don't they say that? They tell you that before you have surgery. They tell you don't eat anything. And don't you what? Drink nothing 2 hours before. Don't they say that? Or 3 hours. I was thinking this is 3 hours. 3 hours. 3 hours before. You know why? Because they get ready to perform a procedure on you. That's what the bar is. He said that's why you don't need to be coming in there with no full stomach. And you don't need to be having a whole bunch of food in your body, because you're getting ready to be repaired. And if you allow you put food in your body before the repairing process, you're going to hinder a successful surgery. Isn't that what it is? You're going to hinder the successful surgery, because if you don't do it properly, you're going to have to go in there again. And that's the worst thing. You're going to have to do it again. And people say, why I keep having to do this over and over again? Because you're not doing the process right. Because you're going to have to, how you say it? Stop eating. Don't come here. Don't come to the surgical procedure full of chicken wings and Kentucky Fried Chicken and all types of fast food, stuff in your face with all types of vegan nuggets, filling your body up with all types of stuff, the things you don't even need in your body, and drinking. You don't want to do that, because the preparation is a part of the surgical procedure. And it says what? To repair. It says the secret. It says to keep secret, to close up, to shut out. He said, you delight in truth in the hidden parts. And it says, and you shall make to know, because you know Yadar Hakma. That's how you're gonna know it. That's how you're gonna know it. He says, so why does and you know what happens when you have, you know what happens? This is Ezekiel chapter 36. This is Ezekiel chapter 36. Yakazal, Ezekiel chapter 36. Ezekiel chapter 36 and verse 1. Ezekiel chapter 36 verse 1. It says, and you, son of Adam, prophesy to the mountains of Yasharal, and say, O mountains of Yasharal, hear the word of Yahuwah. It says, thus says Yahuwah Elohim, because the enemy said of you, Aha, the ancient heights has become our possession. Therefore, now ben say, thus says Yahuwah Elohim, precisely because they made you desolate and crushed you from all sides, so that you became the possession of the rest of the nations, and you became the talk and evil gossip of the people. Therefore, O mountains of Yasharal, hear the word of Yahuwah Elohim. Thus says Yahuwah Elohim, the mountains and the hills and the ravines and the valleys and the desolate waste places and deserted cities, which have become a prey and derision to the rest of the nations all around. Therefore, thus says Yahuwah Elohim, surely I have spoken by hot jealousy against the rest of the nations and against all Edom, right? Skipping over. And going to verse 22. It says, therefore, say to the house of Yasharal, thus says Yahuwah Elohim, it is not for your sake, O house of Yasharal, that I am about to act, but for the sake of my Qahalath name. He said, for my name's sake. That's why I'm about to act. Why is he about to act? Which you have profaned among the nations, to which you came. What do you mean profaned? And I will vindicate my Qahalath's name, my great name, which has been profaned among the nations, and which you have profaned among them. And the nations, which he said, the nations will know that I am Yahuwah, declares Yahuwah Elohim. When through you I will vindicate my Qahalath. It says, vindicate my Qahalath before their eyes. And I will take you from one of the nations and gather you from all countries and bring you to your land. Verse 25, and I will sprinkle clean water on you. He said, on the ear taste the word, as the mouth does the food. He said, why are you drinking all that water? Why you keep drinking that water? Why would you be a companion of wicked people? He said, you keep drinking all that water. You get what it says. But here's what it says right here. It says, and I will take you from a nation and gather you from all countries and bring you to your own land, right? But he said, I will sprinkle clean water on you, verse 25, and you shall be clean from all your uncleanness, and from all your idols I will cleanse you. So, does not the ear taste the bar as the palate does the food, right? So you think about the water, and you think about the things that you put inside, allow it to hear in your ear, the things that Yahuwah is saying to you is there to wash clean the idols and the uncleanness out of your inward mind and out of your body and your inward parts and your stomach. And guess what it says? And you shall be clean from all your uncleanness, and from all your idols I will cleanse you, and I will give you a new heart. And I will put a new ruach within you. So he said, I'm gonna give you a new one. That's called a heart transplant. And the only way to get the heart transplant, you can't be eating before the surgical procedure, or you're gonna hinder what the Malaki is trying to do inside of you. He said, I'm gonna put a new heart within you and a new ruach within you. You're gonna be hindering the surgical process, the creation process. You know, the creation process? You're going to hinder the creation process within inside of you. And I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh. I'm going to remove the what? The heart of stone from your flesh, right? So going Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 26, that word for it says, remove the heart of stone, right? So you say, what does he mean by that? Right, going to Ezekiel 36 and 26. Ezekiel 36 and 26, and it says right here, I'll put a new heart, and he says, and I will take away the stony heart, right? That word for stone is a ben. He said, I will take away the stony heart, the serve a ben. Why would he say take away the ben? It means a stone, a chalk. It says a stony heart, a mason, a bit to build. He said, why would he take away this stony heart? Because you know, ben means father and the son. You know, ben means a father and son. He said, I'm going to take away your stony heart, because you know, the heart is laid of your flesh, your basar. And I will give you a heart. He said, and I will give you a heart of flesh. Right? He said, I will take the stony heart out of your flesh. That's a heart transplant. And I will give you an heart of flesh. So he's literally taking one out and giving you a whole new one. That's a surgical procedure. You ever had a procedure, and you think about everything that's happened, right? And you say, why would he say that, right? And you say, why would he say that, right? Going to Psalms 51, we're gonna come back there. Psalms 51 and 1. Psalms 51 and 1. Going back to Psalms 51 and 1. And it says right here, it says, have mercy on me, O Elohim, according to your steadfast love. Aha, according to your abundant mercy. Blot out my transgressions. So how are you going to do that? We just read it. He said, I'm going to pour clean water on you. And then he says, wash me thoroughly from my iniquity and cleanse me from my sins. He's going to have to pour clean water on you. As rain and snow come down from Shamayim, so did the Barbie that goes out of my mouth. And get what it says. For I know my transgression, and my sin is ever before me. He said, I know them. And get what it says. Against you only have I sinned, and done what is evil in your sight, so that you may be justified in your words, and blameless in your judgment. Because he judged in the midst of the gods, the Elohim, the rulers. That's what he is. A ruler, the gods, the goddesses. Behold, I was brought forth in iniquity. All right, let me back there. Now you see why. But it says right here, verse 10, create in me a clean heart, which means he's going to do a heart transplant. He's going to take one heart, and he's going to outside you again. He's going to have to accomplish this inside of you. And the only way you're going to do that, you got to start eating. When you come, he said, before him. Because he's trying to surgically repair you. It's a surgical procedure. And it says, create in me a clean heart, Elohim, and renew the right ruach within me. He's going to put a new ruach within you. Bara balei tahor lag. He's a bara balei tahor leg. Yahuwah kadashah balei hayasharu. But it says right here, cast me not away from your presence. Why? Because that's where you get your repairing at. You get what it is? You know how people go to the doctor and they have insurance and they be like, we can't operate on you because your insurance ain't covering it. And they throw you out. They cast you out. We're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean we can't do anything? What do you mean? And you be complaining and be wondering like, what's going on? He said, cast me not from your presence and take not your Qahalath ruach from me. He said, don't take it. Right, going back to Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 26. Ezekiel 36, 26. Ezekiel 36, 26. There's more to the story. Ezekiel 36, 26. It says, and I will give you, Ezekiel 36, 26, 25. And I will sprinkle clean water on you. And you shall be clean from all your uncleanness, and from all your idols I will cleanse you. And I will give you a new heart, and a new ruach within you. And I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh, and give you a heart of flesh. And I will put my ruach within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and to be careful, obey my rules. Why? What is all that? What is his statutes, his code, and his rules allow him to do? It keeps your inward man clean. It keeps your body clean. It keeps your heart and your mind clean. It keeps your kidneys clean. It keeps your stomach functioning properly. Your belly. It keeps your 7 near burning. That's what it does. It keeps your child alive on the inside. It says, be careful to obey my rules. You shall dwell in the land. It says, you shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers, and you shall be my people, and I will be your Elohim. And I will deliver you from all your uncleanness, and I will summon the grain. Huh? What do you mean the grain? So I'm going to give you a new heart, a new ruach, and I'm going to give you, take away the heart of stone, heart of flesh, and I'm going to kill you from all your idols and your iniquity, and then I'm going to give you a grain. We just talked about that, the first thing we talked about in the book of Leviticus. He said, grain offering with fine flour. I'm going to create in you a clean heart, and I'm going to give you the things you need for your body and to offer it. Because remember, what is the priest supposed to do after they offer it? With the fine flour, with the oil, and then with the frankincense? It's their food. Right? It was their food. And get what it says. And I will summon the grain and make it abundant, and lay no famine among you. You know how much grain they eat? You know how much bread you're going to have? And guess what it says? And I will make the fruit of the trees and the increase of the field abundant. This is very important. He's going to give them bread and the fruit of the trees and make it abundant. And guess what he says? That you may never suffer disgrace of famine among the nations. So fruit trees and bread. Then, where the rest of the food at? He said, then you will remember your evil ways. He said, then you're going to remember your evil ways after you do all that, after you get the bread and the fruits back. He said, then you're going to remember your evil ways. And get what it says. When you get that back. And your deeds that were not good. So what did you offer when your deeds were not good? We kill animals. We destroy his creatures. We offered up their kidneys, their liver. We offered up their kidneys, their liver, their heart. We burnt their fat. We did that. That's what we did. That's what we did when our deeds weren't good. We threw it on the sheep. We threw it on the goat, the scapegoat, and cast it out of the camp. That's what we did. We put it on animals. And you will loathe yourselves for your iniquities and your abominations. That's what we did. And guess what he says? He says, it is not for your sake that I will act. So Yahuwah like, I'm not doing this because of you. But he says, declares Yahuwah, Elohim, let that be known to you. Be ashamed and confounded of your ways, O house of Yasharah. So he did all of that just to tell you, I'm going to give you back the fruits and the grain again. After I give you this new heart and this new ruach within you. Because that's the whole point. Because he said, have you got the new heart and the new ruach within you? Or you still got the old heart and the old ruach within you, and you still hating your brother in your heart? Right, going to this book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 1. I think it's Genesis chapter 3. Actually, Genesis chapter 5. Genesis chapter 4. Bereshit chapter 4, verse 1. Bereshit chapter 4, verse 1. Bereshit chapter 4, verse 1. Now Adam knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have gotten a man with the help of Yahuwah. And again, with the help of who? Adam knew her. And it says, and again, she bore his brother Abel, Habal. Now, Habal was a keeper of sheep, and Cain was a worker of the ground, right? In the course of time, Cain brought to Yahuwah an offering of the fruit of the ground. And Abel also brought of the firstborn of the flock of their fat portions. And Yahuwah had regard for Abel and his offering. But for Cain and his offering, he had no regard. Why? He had no regard. Why he had no regard? So Cain was very angry and his face fell. He said, why did he didn't like Cain? It says, and Yahuwah said to Cain, why are you angry? And why has your face fallen? He said, why? Because he said, why would he say your face is fallen? Right? So that's the whole point. Why would he say that? He said, why has your face fallen? Right? Going that book, Bereshit, Genesis chapter 4, verse 1. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 4, verse 1. Because I think I talked about it. But if we go in there again. This is Bereshit chapter 4, Genesis chapter 4. He said right here, why is your face fallen? Right? So that word for, yeah. He said, that word for face, he said, why is your countenance? That word for face, of course, panim. Your face. Panah, right? Your panim. It says, why is your face fallen? That word for fallen is nafal. It means a what? To fall, a great. It says cast down. Right? You know how you look sad. Like he said, you can see that on people's facial expressions. Why you look so sad? He said, why you look so sad? Right, so this is the book of, there's a reason why. Going to the book of Ecclesiastes. The book of Ecclesiastes. We almost, Book of Ecclesiastes. Qahalath. Actually, yeah. Book of Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 10. I think it's 7 verse 5. Yeah, Ecclesiastes chapter 7, go to verse 10. Actually, go to verse 1. Go to verse 1. Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 1. It says a good name is better than precious ointment. That's why Yahuwah said, not for your sake I'm doing this, before my name. Because I have a good name. And get what it says. In the day of death, than a birth. He said a good name is better than precious ointment in the day of death than the day of birth. Why? It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. Why? You go to a house of feasting, what are you? You got a bunch of people in there full with a full stomach. He said, and you know what happens when you go there? You think their heart repaired? You think they got a heart that's repaired? Right? He said, when you hungry, he said what? When Qahalath, they were full, what happened to them during Qahalath? They went to sleep. They went to sleep, and what were Yahusha doing? He was crying. He was crying. And it says, morning, then they go to the house of feasting, for this is the end of all mankind, and the living will lay at the heart. That's what Yahusha was doing. Qahalath didn't lay it to heart until after. Peter didn't lay it to heart until after. It says, sorrow is better than laughter. For the sadness of the face, the heart is made glad. Now he said, why your face falling? Cain? But you know what Cain needed though? You know, people say Abel died, but you know what Cain needed though? He said he needed a new heart and a new ruach. He said, why your face falling? What's wrong? And guess what it says? The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning. Now you see why David said, created me a clean heart, renewing me the right ruach. These are all mourning, like you're mourning. These are all parts of, it's like somebody died. But when you die within yourself, when you die, really die, you'll start mourning. But the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. He said, what do you mean house of mirth? House of partying. And you see, let me go there. Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 4. Let me see what that is. It's Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 4. Because you know the word for mirth. The word for mirth is simcha. Yeah. The house of joy, simcha. He says it's better to go to the house of mourning than the house of simcha. That's gladness, the festival. The only reason he's writing this is because of the people's heart conditions. Right? And guess what happens after that? It says, it is better for a man to hear the rebuke of the wise than to hear the songs of fools. What do you mean, rebuke of the wise? We just talked about those, the judges. Don't you know that Chdsh ain't gonna judge the world? He said, the ones who got the lamp burning, then the foolish said to the wise, give us some of your oil. Look at what it says. Then to hear the songs of fools. He said, why would you hear songs of fools? We can almost out of here. For the crackling of thorns under a pot, so is the laughter of the fools. This is also vanity. Where are we going to go to? Yeah, here we go. Verse 9. Skipping to verse 9. Be not quick in your ruach to become angry. He said, why are you wroth, Cain? Why are you so angry? So Yahuwah, like, why are you so quick to anger? You know why he was saying that? He said, what do you need something. You need something. For anger lodges in the heart of fools. You know what he said? Say not, why were the former days better than these? He's like, why are you so wroth, Cain? He said, I'm gonna sprinkle clean water on you Matter of fact, I'm going to put a new ruach and a new heart in you. And he said, and I'm going to give you your grain in abundance, and I'm going to give you back the fruits, and you'll never be a famine anymore among the people. And he said, you will loathe yourself for all of the iniquity that you did, and all the things that you did are evil. Why? Because we will kill animals for it. But it said right here, why were the former days better? For it is not from wisdom that you ask this. It says, wisdom is good with an inheritance, and it's advantage to those who see the sun. You know why it's an advantage? How come I to see the sun? Because you're going to grow. You're actually going to grow. For the protection of wisdom is like the protection of money, and the advantage of knowledge is the wisdom preserves the life of him who has it. Consider the work of Elohim, who can make straight what has been made crooked. He said, who can do that? A human being? Right. But we're trying to get out of here. Going back to Genesis chapter 4. Genesis chapter 4 verse 1. Genesis chapter 4 verse 1. Genesis chapter 4 verse 1. Going to 4 verse 4. Actually 4 and 5. But for Cain and his going 5. 4 and 5. And Cain and his offering, he had no regard. So Cain was very angry. Be not quick in your heart to be angry. But hear what it says. And his face fell. And Yahuwah said to Cain, why are you angry? And why is your face falling? He said, you got second place. You know how people get second place? You got second place. I want to be first. You got second place. It says, if you do well, will you not be accepted? Will you not win the race? And if you do not do well, sin crouches at the door. If you don't train properly, that's all that happens. If you don't train properly, then you're gonna lose. You're gonna be second. He said you'll always be second. But when I put this new heart within you, when I give you this heart transplant, matter of fact, not when I give you a heart transplant, when I put this new ruach in you, because the flesh is weak, but the ruach is willing, and I give you this new heart, man, you're gonna be training. You're gonna be keeping all the statutes and the rules. And a matter of fact, you're gonna win after that. All you gotta do is let me work on you a little bit. Let me train you up. And that little heart you had and that anger and all that thing you had on the inside, I'll get you right there. And guess what? You'll be first in. So yeah, you're angry now. So yeah, I didn't accept your offering now. But guess what? Eventually, if you train properly, but guess what it says? And if you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin crouches at the door. Its desire is contrary to you, and you must rule over it. He said you must rule it. He said you must rule over it. Right, so this book of, so all that, right, so he said, so why would Yahuwah allow these people to understand this? And he said, why would he allow us to comprehend this? Right, so this is the book of, how can we do this? Right, so this is the book of Exodus. This is the book of Exodus chapter 29, Exodus chapter 29, verse 10. Exodus, Shemuth 29 and verse 10. Shemuth, Exodus 29 and verse 10. And it says, then you shall bring the bull before the tent meeting. Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the bull. He said, lay your hand on it. And then you shall kill the bull before Yahuwah at the entrance of the tent meeting. They're killing animals, right? But why are they doing it for? And shall take part of the blood of the bull and put the horns on the altar with your finger. And the rest of the blood you shall pour out as the base on the altar. He said, man, you pour it on the base of the altar. You're doing all that. And you shall take all the fat that covers the entrails and the long lobe of the liver. You take the liver and the 2 kidneys with the fat that is on them and burn them on the altar. So just like the human body got 2 kidneys, these animals got 2 kidneys and they got a liver. And he said you're supposed to burn them on the altar. Why? For what? But the flesh of the bull and its skin and its dung you shall burn with fire outside the camp. It is a sin offering. So you had a sin offering. This is the sin offering. This ain't them killing animals and destroying Yahuwah's creatures and animals was all sin. It was a sin offering. That's what it was. It was a sin offering. It was a sin offering. He said, why would the sin offering? You people saying, why do Yahuwah say this? It says, verse 15. Then you shall take one of the rams, and Aaron, or Harun, and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the ram. And you shall kill the ram, and shall take its blood and throw it against the altar. That's a dirty, filthy altar. But he said you should throw it on the altar. He said, why you got to throw it on the altar? But guess what it says? It said you should throw it on the altar. Why you got to throw it on the altar? There's a reason why. We can get to it. And it said right here, then you shall cut the ram into pieces. Let's go to 15. Then you shall take one of the rams, and Aharon and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the ram, and you shall kill the ram, and shall take its blood and throw it against the side of the altar. Then you shall cut the ram into pieces, and wash the entrails and its legs, and put them with its pieces and its head, and burn the whole ram on the altar. And it is a burnt offering to Yahuwah. It is a pleasing aroma, a food offering to Yahuwah. And you shall take the other ram, and Aharon and his sons, and shall lay their hands on the head of the ram, and you shall kill the ram, and shall take part of its blood and put it on the tip of the right ear of Aharon, and on the tip of the right ears of his sons, and on the thumb of the right hand, and on the great toe of his right feet, and throw the rest of the blood against the sides of the altar. Then you shall take part of the blood that is on the altar and the anointing oil, and sprinkle it on Harun and his garments, and on his sons' garments with him, and he and his garments shall be Qahalath, and his sons' garments with him. And then verse 22, and you shall take the fat from the ram, and the fat of the tails, and the fat of the covers and entrails, a long lobe of the liver, and the 2 kidneys with the fat that is on them, in the right thigh, for it is a ram ordination, and a loaf of bread, and 1 cake of bread made with oil, and 1 wafer of a basket of unleavened bread that is before Yahuwah. And you shall put all these in the palms of Aharon, on the palms of his sons, and wave them before Yahuwah, a wave offering. Then you shall take them from their hands and burn them on the altar on the top of the burnt offering. Is a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah. So, and it is a food offering to Yahuwah. So you got all this going on. Now you think about that. How many people have done that right now? Right, you have some people who still do this. Right? But then right here, this is Psalms 50 and 1. Psalms 50 and 1. Tahalim, Psalms 50 and 1. Psalms 50 and 1. Psalms 50 and 1. It says, the mighty one, the Elohim, Yahuwah, speaks and summons the earth from the rising of the sun to the setting. Out of Saun, the perfection of beauty, Elohim shines forth. Out of Zion, the perfection of beauty shines forth. And get what it says. O Elohim, our Elohim comes, and he does not keep silent. Before him is a devouring fire. Around him is a mighty tempest. He calls to the Shamaim above in the earth, that he may judge his people. gather me my faithful ones, who made a covenant to me by sacrifice. Right? So we got to sacrifice. They make a covenant, a bereaved. The heavens declare righteousness, and the Elohim himself is judge. Because he's judging in the midst of the Elohims. And they made a covenant by sacrifice. It says, hear, O my people, and I will speak, O Yasharah, I testify against you. I mean, it's for you. He's judging. I testify against you. I am Elohim, your Elohim. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. Not for your sacrifices do I rebuke you, because they sacrifices, right? Your burnt offerings are continually before me. What? They got burnt offerings. He said, not for those. I will not accept a bull from your house, or goats of your fold. He said, so what sacrifice he talking about? He said, but sacrifices are continually before me. Not sacrifice. I like sacrifices. I like when people offer things as a sacrifice. But the thing I'm not accepting is the sin offerings. I'm not accepting your sin offerings. It says, not for your sacrifice do I rebuke you. Your burnt offerings are continually before me. He says, I will not accept a bull from your house or goats from your fold. What do you mean bull from your house? Where does your food go at when you give an offering? Where do things go at when you eat it? You taste it and it goes inside of your body. It goes inside of your house, your body. He said, I'm not accepting any of that. It goes inside of your body. You get what he said? For every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle on 1,000 hills. I know all the birds of the hills, and all that moves in the field is mine. He's like, hold up. I'm not accepting your sin offerings. Because the sin offering is what, people were continually eating, because they were committing so much sin on top of sin. That's all they were doing. That's all I see. It's like all y'all eating is animal flesh the whole time. That's all y'all consuming in your body. Because when you put it in your mouth, it go down in your body, and then your stone. And he said it goes through your kidney, your liver, then it goes all to your stomach. He said that's all I see is sin offering. I don't see no fine flour mixed with oil with frankincense going down in your stomach anymore, because that ain't no sin offering. That was just an offering that they made every single day by the Kahan, so that for their what? It was automatically given to them. It was something that was done every single day on your shulchan, on the altar, that was given to Yahuwah every day. Now, if you offering sin on the altar every single day, Yahuwah like, there's always a sin offering coming on this thing. What in the world? What the bread with the fine flour mixed with oil with the frankincense on it? The food I like. He said, what happened to that? Oh, you know what it's about? It's about your heart. It's about your heart and your ruach. Matter of fact, it's because you got idols. You ain't been cleansed. You ain't been cleansed properly. The grain is not in abundance, must not be. Matter of fact, the fruit trees must not be there, because that's what I eat. But it seems like all y'all want to do is offer sin offerings. And get what it says. For every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle on 1,000 hills. I know all the birds of the hills, and all that moves in the field are mine. If I were hungry, I would not tell you. For the world and its fullness are mine. He's like, I ain't telling you nothing. Get what it says. Do I eat the flesh of bulls and drink the blood of goats? Do I do that? Cut the head off. Take the kidneys and the fat, and throw the blood on the altar, and let the blood just sit there, and then you want me to eat off of that? Would you do that naturally? Would you do that? If somebody did that to you and say eat that, you see it in horror movies and they be eating it. Would you do it then? If this was the altar and somebody just threw blood on there through the goat and said, this is the offering right now. And you know how we come before Yahuwah, and then he throw the blood right there and then burn the fat and the thing and burn it on there. Would you do it? Would you eat from it? No. If you went to a restaurant and somebody did that, you would sue the restaurant. And it said right here, I know the birds of the hill. He says, if I were hungry, I wouldn't tell you. For the world and its fullness are mine. Do I eat the flesh of bulls or drink the blood of goats? Offer to Yahuwah, offer to Elohim a sacrifice of thanksgiving. See, that's why he said, don't stop sacrificing. Though I love sacrificing. It's what you putting on there. That's what I don't like. Yahuwah never told us to stop sacrificing. He just more like, what are y'all putting on there? It says, and he says, offer to Yahuwah a sacrifice of thanksgiving and perform your vows to the Most High, and call upon him in the day of trouble, and I will deliver you, and you shall kabod me. How you gonna call on Yahuwah in the day of trouble when your priestly office and your kahan and you ain't in proper mode to petition properly? You're not gonna be able to call on him with a right, pure heart, clean heart, in the right ruach. You're not gonna be able to do that. You're not going to be able to do that. Right? This is the book of Bereshit, Genesis, chapter 1, verse 25. Genesis chapter 1, verse 25. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1, verse 25. Real simple. And it says, and Elohim made the beasts of the earth. He said, I know all the animals. Man, if I know all the beasts, all the cattle, I made them all. He said, and Elohim made the beasts of the earth according to their kind, and the livestock according to their kind. Now you see what he was talking about. He's like, man, I made all the cattle on 1,000 hills. I know all the beasts of the earth. They all mine. I made them. And get what he says. And everything that creeps on the ground according to its kind. He said, I did all that. And Elohim saw that it was good. He said, you know what? I got a good name. Look at what it says. And Elohim said, let us make man, Adam, in our image, and after our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fish, the god of the yam, the sea, and over the oath of the shamayim, and over the behemoth, over all the earth, and over every remes, or we say over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So Yahuwah already had the animals there before he made Adam. And then he had all of the behemoth, the animals, the insectoids, the birds, and everything before he made them. He did. And get what he said, verse 27. So Elohim created Adam in his own image. In the image of Elohim, he created him, male and female. Zakar Nakabah, he created them. So he's like, so what's all this on the altar right now? He said, why is this on my altar? You know how they say, why is this on my altar? Why are these animals on my altar? I made all this stuff before I made you. Why are these things being offered to me? I made you in my image and likeness. Verse 28, and Elohim baraked them, and Elohim said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it. And get what he says, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the shamayim, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. And he said, and rule it, because you are a ruler. Because he judges in the midst of the rulers, the gods, the goddesses, the malakim, the angels, the divine ones. He's literally, what do you think he's doing right here? He's judging him. He's telling him what to do. He's giving him a commandment. You know how we get commandments? This is a commandment. And Elohim said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed. You mean the grain offering? You know, I'm going to give you grain. It's going to be in abundance. When you read in Ezekiel, he's going to utsa. I'm going to give you a new heart, and I'm going to give you a new ruach. And you know what he said? And behold, I was giving you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit, you shall have them for food. I'm going to give you the fruit trees back too. I'm going to give you the grain, fine flour after I put a new heart and a new rock in you. And I'm going to give you the fruits back. And you're going to loathe yourself for all the sins that you committed, all them sin offerings you had. And get what he said. And you what he said. And he says, and you shall have them for food. You know, the food offering that I like. What do you think? He just made the food for them? No, because he like to eat that food. He made you in his image and likeness. And he said, you know what? I want you to offer me some grain, some bread too. I like that fine flour with that frankincense. You know, that frankincense made from the sun. Grain and wheats made, barley and wheat made from the sun that I created to heat everything you have. And the fruit trees are made from the sun that you eat every single day. And you know what? Matter of fact, all that was made by me. And then you put it where? On the shulchan, made by the tree. How you say the acacia wood, and guess what? That's made from the sun. And then you put it for me to eat. That's what I eat. It says, and to every beast of the earth and every bird of the shamayim, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food. And it was so. He like, I made all this stuff. I made all the cattle on 1,000 hills. I own all of this. Not for your sacrifice, I rebuke you, to call you. I love that. It's what you putting on there that I have a problem with. I've always had a problem with it. From the time you started until the time you ended it. And then the time you continue to do it. And get what it says. And it says, everything that has a breath of life, how you say his ruach, his neshama, the breath of life, and it says, I have given every green plant for food, and it was so. And Yahuwah Elohim saw that what he had made, and behold, it was very good. Meo Tao. So it was very good. My name is good. Yahushua say, I'm the good shepherd. So why are you changing it? And then he says, and there was evening and there was morning, Shishiyun. He said it's the evening, morning, the seventh day. So he like, what's going on? But then now you start to understand why Yahuwah is in a certain state. We're going back to Exodus. We're going to Leviticus chapter 3. Leviticus chapter 3, verse 1. Leviticus chapter 3, verse 1. If his offering is a sacrifice of peace offering, if he offers an animal from the herd, a male or a female, he shall offer it without blemish before Yahuwah. So he said, offer it without blemish. Was not Adam made without blemish right there we just read? He was made without blemish. Matter of fact, he was made a virgin. He ain't never had intercourse with a woman before. He was a Bethula. And matter of fact, he was a virgin. And matter of fact, he was without blemish before Yahuwah, because Yahuwah made him. And get what it says, and he shall lay his hand on the head of his offering and kill it at the entrance of the tent meeting. And Aharon's sons and the priest shall throw the blood against the side of the altar. So you got, this is a sin offering, this is a peace offering. How you gonna make peace? A peace offering. And it says, as a food offering to Yahuwah. And he shall offer the fat, the covering of the entrails, and all the fat that is on the entrails, and the 2 kidneys with the fat that is on them at the loins, and the long lobe of the liver, that is he shall remove. He says that he shall remove from the kidneys. So, you know how Yahuwah said, I'm gonna put a new heart in you, a new ruach in you. So what do you think he's talking about? What are they doing right here? This is called a surgical procedure. You're not cutting out no 2 livers and no kidneys without cutting some open. And that's the only way you're gonna create something that's new. He said, of course he ain't making nothing that's new. This is like organ harvesting. You know the organ harvesting they do in the world? How long has he been alive? They wait for you to, he's still alive. He's about 2 hours. He only been dead for 2 hours. They sign a document and they come and take your organs out. They take your two liver and your kidneys and they put it in there and they take it and they put it in a frozen and they freeze it. Just like organ harvesting. And then they transplant it and put it in somebody else. That's what they do. They do that in the world. They do that as a surgical procedure. But you gotta be dead. That's why they put you on the anesthesia when they do a surgery on you. And they tell you, don't eat, make sure you don't eat nothing. make sure you don't drink anything. But Yahuwah said, he said, I'm going to put a new heart in you and a new ruach. So you think he wasn't going to put new kidneys in there either? New kidneys, new liver, new intestines, new everything. He going to make you all over again. Oh, you mean like Adam? Let us make Adam in our own image and own likeness. Let him have authority, efficiency, follows every creeping thing over all the things that Yahuwah made. And let him offer a grain offering and some fruits on the altar. Because that's what he was actually telling them to do. But not no sin offering, though. Because I don't want no more sin offerings and no animals. And I don't want no more peace offerings with no blood and no animals. It says, and all the fat of the entrails and the 2 kidneys with the fat that is on them at the loins and the long lobe of the liver, and he shall remove the kidneys. Then Aharon's sons shall burn it at the altar on the top of the burnt. Is it on the top of the burnt offering, which is on the wood on the fire? It is a offering with a pleasing aroma to Yahuwah. And if his offering for a sacrifice of peace offering to Yahuwah is an animal from the flock, a male or female, let me just read that. A male or female. He made Adam in his own image, both male and female. We know Zakar Nakabah means male animal, female animal, right? Male son, female, male and female, right? He shall offer it without blemish. When they without blemish, wasn't Adam, both male and female, without blemish when he made it? Did Yahuwah say offer Adam on the altar and kill Adam and put him on the altar as a sacrifice and a pleasing aroma to him when he made Adam in his image and likeness? No. He shall offer it without blemish. If he offers a lamb for his offering, he shall offer it before Yahuwah and lay his hand on the head of his offering and shall kill it in front of the tent meeting. He said, kill it. And Aharon's son shall throw its blood against the side of the altar. Then the sacrifice of the peace offering, he says, he shall offer as a food offering to Yahuwah. Its fat he shall remove, and the whole fat tail cut off close to the backbone, and the fat that covers the entrails, and all the fat that is on the entrails and the 2 kidneys, with the fat that is on them at the loins and at the lobe of the liver, he shall remove with the kidneys. That's a lot of cutting and removing, but he's not putting it back in the animal and bringing it back to life. Right? It ain't happening. He's not doing that to the animal, but that's what he did for you, though. So if he did that for you, he took you a new heart, new mind, new ruach, new liver, new kidneys, new intestines, repaired everything in your inward man, your body. He took out the old and put in the new. So how come you don't do that for no animals? Because I did that for your natural man. How you think I'm going to redeem you? How you think I brought you back to life? I couldn't bring you back to life with the very same thing you had before. I had to give you a whole new body with a whole new inward parts, with a whole new everything. Verse 12 says, it is an offering. It says, if this offering is a goat, he shall offer it before Yahuwah and lay his hands on its head and kill it in front of the tent meeting. You know, you got goats, lambs, bulls, just right. It says, and the sons of Aharon shall throw its blood against the sides of the altar. Then he shall offer it make an offer from it. It says, as his offering for a food offering to Yahuwah. The fat coverings, the entrails, and the fat that is on the entrails, and the 2 kidneys with the fat, it says, that is on them, in the loins, in the lobe of the liver, that he shall remove with the kidneys. He said, why are he doing all this? You got to remove the kidneys? The kidneys supposed to filter out everything, right? But you removing the kidneys out. Are you going to give the kidneys back? No, you're going to burn it up. And the priest shall burn them on the altar as a food offering, with a pleasing aroma. All the fat is Yahuwah's. You think Yahuwah won't eat that? It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, in your dwelling places, that you may eat neither fat nor blood. He said that's what he said. We don't eat fat or blood, right? But he burned it. They burned it all. You know why? Because they burned it. He said we don't eat that, but we burn it though. But that's the whole point, right? He said, so why are we doing all that, right? So this is the book of Job. The book of Job, Aydah, chapter 16, and verse 16 and 8, 16 and 10. Job, Aydah, 16 and 10. 16 and 10. It says, men have gaped at me with their mouth. You know what happens when men gape at you with their mouth? They have struck me insolently on the cheek. You know what happens when they start beating on you and gaping at you in the mouth? You know how people start drooling? You know when you're real hungry, you start drooling in your mouth. When you're really, really hungry, and they start beating the thing out. They mass themselves together against me. He's like, why everybody coming at me for? And get what it says. Yahuwah gives me up to the ungodly and casts me into the hands of the wicked. Oh, he said you wicked. Yahuwah said you wicked. So what they getting ready to do? What is this like? Because remember, he said you better lay the hands on the head. And he just said you smack me in the cheek. He said you lay the hands on the head of the animal and you cut it up, right? You slice and dice, right? He said it was at ease, and he broke me apart. He broke every bone in your body. Because you got to break the bone, you got to cut it up. You got to take the liver and the kidney, you got to cut up the lung bone, the lungs and the ribs. Cut that off and take the liver and the kidneys out. Take that set aside, cut the fat off the sides of the bones, right? Where the meat at. And get what it says. He said, I was at ease. You know how the lamb and the bull and the goat be in the field? They be chilling. They be out there laid out, right? They don't be thinking about what you be thinking about. I promise you that. They be sitting there, eating the grass, chilling, doing all the things that you do. Then when you kill one of their brothers, then he say, man, such and such, they ate them. And then next you know, they come ramming you in your neck. You be like, why are they charging at me? Why did he kick my daughter the other day? And you be like, what he do that for? Why the ox went out and gored a man? That ox thinking about, you finna eat me. And the next time I see one of y'all, I'm gonna put my horn right in your gut. Right? That's what they thinking about. You know why? Because they're defending themselves. Just like people do in the streets. When you come out something and they want to defend themselves, they're doing the same thing. He said, it was at ease, and he broke me apart, and he seized me by the neck and dashed me into pieces. Isn't that what they do to the animal sacrifice? They were killing all these creatures. You were like, what y'all doing? And he said, and he set me up as his target. You know, they get the gun, right? They put a bullseye on your neck, a harpoon, a big arrow, stick it through your gut. He like, he put a target on me. I was chilling. What's going on? I'm good. I'm at peace and tranquility. I'm in the field. And get what it says. His archers surround me. He slashes open my kidneys. He's like, oh man, you done cut open my kidneys now. You took my kidneys now. And get what it said. And does not spare. He said they're not sparing anything. They didn't even spare the animals. And you know what happened? He poured out my gall on the ground. I mean, he poured out my blood and everything in my inward part on the ground. And guess what? He breaks me with a breach upon breach. He runs upon me like a warrior. I have sewed sackcloth upon my skin, and I have laid my strength in the dust. He said, man, he done put me in the dirt. You know, that black dirt. He's like, yeah, he done laid me down. My face is red with weeping, all the blood that's on my face. Because he's supposed to lay it by the head, remember? But take it by the head. And guess what he said? And it said, on my eyelids is deep darkness. although there is no violence in my hands, and my prayer is pure. Was there any violence in the hand of them animals? He said, I was at peace. And he said, though my prayer is pure. Isn't that what Job said? He said, I ain't got no transgression. We just talked about it. In the other verse, he said, I ain't got no transgression and sin. But yet, for some reason, he said, why are you drinking the water of wicked men? Why you keep drinking it? Does not the ear taste the word as the palate does the food? But then it said right here, it says, O earth, cover me, cover not my blood. He said, what? O earth, cover not my blood. And let my cry find no resting place. Why? You know why he wanted him to cover his blood and find no resting place? Because he wants somebody to see it. Even now, behold, my witness is in Shamayim. He like, that's the only reason if you kill me, I hope my blood stay on top of the earth. Matter of fact, I hope you will see it. And I hope the earth help me too. And you throw 100 pounds of weight of dust on it, and he said it just come right back to the surface, just so that you can see it. You know what happens? And he who testifies for me is on high. He said, my friends scorn me, and my eyes pour out tears to Elohim. Now you see the type of man. Why he said what? He said, my friends scorn me, and I pour out tears to Yahuwah. You said, why Yahushua was crying when he was getting ready to crucify? You know what it says? That he would argue the case of a man with Elohim, as a son of man does with his neighbor. For when a few years have come, I shall go way for which I shall not return. Right? You're going back to Genesis chapter 4, verse 8. Bereshit Genesis chapter 4, verse 8. Bereshit Genesis chapter 4, verse 8. It says, and Cain spoke to Abel, Ahabal, his brother. And when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother and killed him, just like you kill an animal. But I thought, Abel brought the animal though, and offered it to Yahuwah, right? But we see right here, what happened to Cain? Cain came up and slew him like one of the animals you offer for the sacrifice for sin. He came up there and slew him, just like you slay an animal for sin. And guess what happened? Then Yahuwah said to Cain, where is your brother? Where is Ahabal, your brother? What the animal you killed at? What happened to such and such that was chilling in the field? I remember you had a nice big fat goat out there, man. He used to give you milk and stuff, and y'all used to milk it and drink it and stuff like that. And he said, where is your brother? And he said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? Am I a keeper of sheep? Am I a keeper of ox? Am I a keeper of bulls? Am I a keeper of lambs? Oh, that's what you're supposed to be. Just like Bereshit, when he made Adam and and created him all over again. He said, am I that? And Yahuwah said, what have you done? Right? Yahuwah like, hold up, what you done did? Right? But let me show you. Right? So this is the book of 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel, chapter 17 and verse 19. Alu Shemuel, chapter 17, verse 19. Alu Shemuel, chapter 17, verse 19. It says, now Saul, you notice, and the thing about what you need to understand, that Cain and Ahabal were virgins. They both were. Just like Adam was. They all were virgins. 5 were wise and 5 were foolish. They were Bathulas. They were virgins. He said, why are you doing it? This is the male side of it. But then also, you start to understand it. But it said right here, now Saul and they, it says, and they all, it says, he says, now Saul and they all, and he said, now Saul and they and all the men of Yasharal were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. And when Cain and Abel was doing, Cain and Abel were fighting too before. But it says, and David rose early in the morning and left his sheep with a keeper. Am I my brother's keeper? You were like, what you do? You know how they say, what you do with my stuff? What you do with your brother? What you do with your brother? What you do with your sister? Because the animals are like your brothers and sisters. That's the only reason he was saying that. Am I my brother's keeper? He says he left the sheep with the keeper and took the provisions and went. And Yeshai had commanded him. And he came and encamped at the host. He came as the host was going out to battle line and shouting war cry. Right? Shouting the war cry. And Yasharal and the Philistines drew up for battle in an army. It says, grew up for battle, army against army. And David left the things in charge, and he left the things in charge of the keeper of the baggage, and ran to the ranks and went and greeted his brothers. He left it with a keeper. He said, you're irresponsible. Because Yahuwah made man in his own image and likeness. He said, I put you over all these things. And you're supposed to be keeping it. He said, am I my brother's keeper? You know what he says? And he talked, he says, and as he talked with them, behold, the champion of the Philistines, Goth and Goliath by name, came up for the ranks of the Philistines and spoke the same words as before, and David heard him. And all the men of Yasharal, when they saw the man, fled from him. It says, they saw the man, fled from him, and were much afraid. And the men of Yasharal said, have you seen this man who has come up? Man, this is a strong man, alpha male, 6'9", 460 pounds, right? Some big dude, right? Big alpha guy, right? It says, have you seen the man that come up? Surely he is come up to defy Yasharal, and the king will enrich him. It says, have you seen this man who has come up? Surely he has come up to defy Yasharal, and the king will enrich the man who kills him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Yasharal. And David said to the men who stood by him, what shall be done to the man who kills the Philistine and takes away the reproach of Yasharal, right? But all that's important, right? Right now, going to verse 28. Now Eliab, his eldest brother, because you know the older brother, like Cain was the older. Cain was the older brother too. Heard when he spoke to the men. Eliab's anger was kindled against David. So, why are you angry? You know how they say? Why are you angry, Cain? Why are you wroth? If you do well, will you not be accepted? But if you do not well, sin crosses at your door. Why are you wroth? What you mad for? What you angry for? And Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, Why do you come down? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? He said, Who have you left? He said, and with whom have you left the few sheep in the wilderness? I know that your presumption and the evil of your heart, for you have come to see the battle. And David said, What have I done now? He said, I ain't did nothing wrong. What iniquity, what sins have I committed? What have I done? What have I done? And he says, what is not but a word? Right? Was it not but a word? And he turned away from him and toward another and spoke in the same way. And the people answered him again as before, right? He said, I ain't do nothing. Was it not but a word? That's all I did. And when the words that David spoke were heard, they repeated them to Saul, right? Because all David did was speak the word. He spoke with the bar. He said, was it not a word, right? And then also, whom did you lead those sheep with, right? You just come to see the battle, right? Because that's all they really worried about. That's all he was worried about, right? And when the words of David spoke, were heard, they repeated them before Saul, and he sent for him. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine, right? Going back to Genesis chapter 4, verse 1. Going back to Genesis chapter 4, verse 10. Verse 10. Genesis chapter 4, verse 10. And Yahuwah said, what have you done? You know what David said to his brother? What did I do? I ain't do nothing wrong. The voice of your brother's blood is crying from the ground. He said, Yahuwah, please don't cover my blood. He said, remember we read in Job 16? He said, please don't cover my blood. I'm going to pray to Yahuwah that he don't cover my blood. That he don't cover it up. Your blood is crying from the ground. Because he wanted, it's somebody in the Shamayim going to see it. And now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. And when you work the ground, it shall no longer yield to you its strength. He said, it's not going to yield anything. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer in the earth. Cain said to Yahuwah, my punishment is greater than I can bear. He said, you're going to be a fugitive. Behold, you have driven me today from the ground, and from your face I shall be hidden. And I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer in the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. Because you know why he's going to kill him? He said, why are you going to kill you? Because you are no longer in, he said, in the pasture. You know how he said? With the other land. You know how you have people inside of the whole enclosure? And he said, you're going to be driven out of this little pen that we got, this little protection. How you say in the circle, in the revolving cycles, and you're gonna do what? I'm gonna let you go outside of that to all the people who are outside of it. And anybody who see you, they're gonna kill you. Then Yahuwah said to him, not so. If anyone kills Cain, vengeance shall be on him sevenfold. Shabath thing, when Yahuwah cast him out. He said, when you cast, and I got cast out, he said, if you touch Cain after you get cast out, he said, man, you know what's going to happen to you? I'm going to get you Shabath thing. But then you start to ask yourself, what is really going on here? Why is he talking about Cain being cast out, but anybody who touches you, they're going to get sevenfold on their behind. You be like, man, sevenfold. But guess what it says? Then Yahuwah said to Cain, not so. If anyone kills you, vengeance shall be on him sevenfold. And Yahuwah put a mark on Cain, lest any who should find him should attack him. He put a mark. He put a mark on him. Then Cain went away from the presence of Yahuwah and settled in the land of Nud and east of Eden. East of Aydah. It says what? He said anybody should attack him. He said he put a mark on him, right? So this is the book. So Genesis chapter 4:15, we almost finished. Genesis chapter 4, verse 15. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 4, verse 15. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 4, verse 15. Yeah. That word for mark. The word for mark is oath. Ayud. He put a signal, a flag, a beacon, evidence, a mark, right? Something on him to make him, you know how they tag an animal? He said, that's such and such animal. Right, you know, you tag an animal, you put the name on. He's like, that's such and such animal right there. He's like, that's such and such animal. You better not kill that animal. Right? And he only one person, right? But it said right here, I am my brother's keeper, and Yahuwah said, I'm going down, sorry. Yeah, and Yahuwah said a mark, it says right here, yeah, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, he put a mark on Cain, but it says right here, verse 6. Then Yahuwah said, verse 15, then Yahuwah said to him, not so, if anyone kills Cain, vengeance shall be on him, taken on him sevenfold. And Yahuwah put a mark on Cain, that any who found him should attack him. Then Cain went away from the presence of Yahuwah and settled in the land of Nud in Aydah. Right, but we were talking about, he said, my brother's keeper. But he started to see these attributes, right, going on, right? So this is the book of, we almost finished. This is the book of Exodus. Book of Exodus, or actually Leviticus chapter 4, verse 22. Leviticus chapter 4, verse 22. Leviticus chapter 4, verse 22. It says, when a leader sins, doing unintentionally any one of the things that by the commandments of Yahuwah, his Elohim, not to be done, then realizes his guilt, or the sin which he has committed is made known to him, he shall bring as his offering a goat, a male without blemish. Right, here we go, killing animals again. And he shall lay his hand on the head of the goat and kill it. It says, in the place where they kill the burnt offerings before Yahuwah. It is a sin offering. Then the priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and put it on the horns of the altar of the burnt offering, and pour out the rest of his blood at the base of the altar of the burnt offering, and all its fat shall be on the altar, like the fat of the sacrifice of the peace offerings. So the priest shall make an atonement for him, for his sin, and he shall be forgiven. He said, he's going to make atonement. He said, what? He said, make an atonement? He said, why would he make an atonement for the sin? Make an atonement for the sin, right? So this is the book of Exodus chapter 21. Exodus chapter 21, verse 14. Shemuth Exodus chapter 21, verse 14. Exodus chapter 21, verse 14. Actually, Exodus 21 and 12. Exodus 21 and 12. He said, whosoever strikes a man so that he dies shall be put to death. That was supposed to happen to Cain. Cain was supposed to die. He was supposed to have died. He was a virgin man who what? Who offered something to Yahuwah, but he didn't get accepted. And after he didn't get accepted, he went to go what? To kill his brother Abel, a Habal. Why? You know why he wanted to go kill Habal? Because he was angry. He was angry at what? What was he angry at? The fact that he didn't get accepted. But what was he angry at? Whosoever strikes a man so that he dies shall be put to death. It's all premeditated stuff. It says, but if he did not lie, and it says, but if he did not lie in wait for him, that's what Cain did. Cain lied in wait for him. But if he did not lie and wait for him, but Elohim let him fall into his hand. But Elohim let him fall in his hand, then I will appoint for you a place where he may flee. He said he may flee. But if a man willfully attacks another to kill him, by cunning, ye shall take him from my altar, that he may die. He said, don't be bringing this person by the altar. He said, you willingly attack the person to kill another person by cunning. He says, you shall take him from my altar that he may die. Whosoever strikes his father and his mother shall be put to death, right? So he said, why would you do that? he said, but if he did not lie in wait for him, but Elohim let him fall into his hand, then I will appoint for you a place for him to flee. Because it was an accident. But if the man willfully attacks another and kills him, by cunning, ye shall take him from my altar that he may die. So why would he do that? He said, you're going to take him from my altar that he may die. Yeah, he ain't coming before my altar. But then you see all these things. But you see all these animals being killed by his altar. But then you see Cain coming to the altar. And he's like, am I my brother's keeper? But then he said, I didn't do anything wrong. But then you start to see a lot of other things, right? This is the second book of Adam. Right, this is the first book of Adam. First book of Adam. First book of Adam. First book of Adam. This is first book of Adam, chapter LXXVIII. So that's page 116. So it's LXXVIII. Right, so this is, so this is verse 17, 1 to 16. It says, they both obeyed their father Adam, and they took their offerings and offered them up on the mountain by the altar. But Cain behaved arrogantly and haughtily toward his brother, and he shoved him from the altar and would not let him offer up his gift on the altar. Now he said, and he offered his own offering on it with a proud heart. He shoved him, he moved him out of the way with a proud heart, full of guile and fraud. He said, you fraud, you full of guile and fraud. But Hahabal set up stones that were near at hand, and on that he offered up a gift with a heart humble. And it says right here, and free from guile. And Cain was then standing by the altar on which he had offered up his gift, and cried to Elohim to accept his offering. But Elohim did not accept it from Cain, nor did a divine fire come down to consume his offering. But he remained standing over against the altar out of meanness, to make fun of his brother. Anyway, people do that. Ha ha! Look at your offering. That's all you got, right? Ha ha! Because they want to. He said crude joking. You know how he talks about put away all these crude joking and stuff out of our mouth. People say, why he tell us to do that? That's all you got. And get what it says. He started what? It says Abel, let's see. Yeah. But he remained standing against the altar out of meanness, to make fun of his brother. And he glared at his brother Abel to see if Elohim would accept his offering or not. So he's sitting there watching the whole time. And he wanted to see if he would accept his offering or not. And Abel prayed to Elohim to accept his offering. Then a divine fire came down and consumed his offering. And Elohim smelled the sweet savor of his offering, because Hahabal loved him. It says, and rejoiced in him. It says, because Abel loved him and rejoiced in him. And because Elohim Yahuwah was well pleased with him, he sent him a malach of light in the form of a man to partake of his offering, because he had smelled the sweet savor of his offering. And he comforted Abel and strengthened his heart. Right? And he strengthened his heart. So right here, and it says, he said, why did he do that? And he said, and he strengthened his heart. Right, and here we go right here. He's in a malachite to strengthen the heart. But Cain was looking on all that took place at his brother's offering, and was angry because of it. Then he opened his mouth and blasphemed Elohim, because he had not accepted his offering. But Elohim said to Cain, why do you look sad? He said, why do you look sad? Because it's better to go to the house of mourning than the house of feasting. You know what he said? Be in right standing with me, so that I may accept your offering. You have not murmured, he said, you have not murmured against me, but against yourself. He said, against yourself. And Elohim said this to Cain in rebuke, and because he hated him in his offering, right? Because he hated him in his offering. And Cain came down from the altar, and his color changed, and he had a sad face. And he came to his father and his mother and told them all that happened to him. And Adam grieved much because Elohim had not accepted Cain's offering. But Abel came down rejoicing with a glad heart, and told his father and mother how Elohim Yahuwah had accepted his offering. And they rejoiced at it and kissed his face. And Abel said to his father, because Cain shoved me from the altar and would not allow me to offer my gift on it, I made an altar for myself and offered my gift on it. He said, he won't let me do it. He won't let me offer anything. So you know what I did? He said, I want to go. Abel said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go make my own altar over here, just so I can make some offerings to Yahuwah, because everybody else tried to stop me. He said, so I'm going to come over here and make my offerings, because everybody else won't let me do it. And he said, ain't nothing wrong with that. But it says right here, but when Adam heard this, he was very sorry, because it was the altar he had built at first, on which he had offered his own gifts. He's like, man, that was my altar, man. And Cain was so resentful and so angry that he went into the field, and there Satan came to him and said to him, your brother Abel has taken refuge with your father Adam, because you shoved him from the altar. They have kissed his face, and they rejoice over him far more than over you. And when Cain heard these words of Satan, he was filled with rage, but he let no one know. And so he was upset, because he realized, he's like, man, they done accepted your offering, right? Right? They done accepted your offering, right? Right, so this is, I'm not going to go here. No, I'm not going here. I'm not going here. So, right, so this is the last couple of things. Right, so this book of Matthew. He said, I'm going to go offer my own stuff, right? So this is the book of Matthew. Chapter 23 verse 16. Matthew 23:16. It says, woe to you blind guides, who say if anyone swears by the temple, it is nothing. But if anyone swears by gold of the temple, he is bound to an oath. You blind fools. He said, better to go to the house of mourning than the house of feasting. It says, for which is greater, the gold or the temple that has made the gold sacred? And you say, if anyone swears by the altar, it is nothing. But if anyone swears by the gift that is on the altar, he is bound to the oath. You blind men, for which is greater, the gift or the altar that makes the gift sacred? Was not Adam grieved? He said, that was the altar that I offered my gifts on. And you pushed him from the altar that I offered my gifts on. And he had to go make his own offering somewhere else, because you won't let him offer it in the place where he's supposed to offer it at. So you pushed him away just so he got to go offer his gift somewhere else. Isn't that what they did when they took people out of Jerusalem? That's what they did. He said, so why are you all wroth? Why are you angry? Why? He said, if you do well, will you not be accepted? But if not, sin is at your door. Matter of fact, it's always at the door. Sin is always at the door. It don't matter what day or time it is, what night, whether it's morning, noon, evening, sin always does. It says, you blind men, for which is greater, the gift or the altar that makes it give sacrifice? So whosoever swears by the altar swears by it and everything on it. And whosoever swears by the temple swears by it and by him who dwells in it. And whoever swears by Shamayim swears by the throne of Elohim and by him who sits upon it, in a sapphire throne. Woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites, for you tithe mint, dill, cumin, and neglect the weightier matters of the Torah, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. Because Yahuwah judge in the midst of the gods, in the midst of the Elohims, in the midst of the virgins. Because that's what Cain and Abel were. They were virgins. One was wise and one was foolish. He judged right in the midst of them. And guess what happened? Justice and mercy and faithfulness, these ought to have done without neglecting the others. You blind God, straining out the net and swallowing a camel. Woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites, for you clean the outside of the cup and the plate. But you clean it up, boy, you eat all that. Boy, you put that stuff on the plate, boy, you clean the whole plate. You know how they eat and stuff their face. You know how you stuff your face with a whole bunch of food and meat and animal flesh? It's better to go to a house of mourning than a house of feasting. It's better to how you say, shed some tears than to sit around and throw a whole bunch of food in your mouth and you got it full of hatred. He said you clean the pot and the plate, but inside they are full of greed and self-indulgence. But you know how much stuff you done stuffed inside of your mouth? You don't put all types of stuff, you can't even stop. You done stuffed your face. He said they got so much stuff on the inside, so much food. Ain't no way you're gonna have a heart transplant. How can I give you a new heart and a new mind? I can't even do a surgery on you. I can't even replace your heart and your mind, your liver and your kidneys, because you eating before the surgical procedure. You can't stop. You eating all this natural food, and you ain't laboring for the meat which perishes, the food that perishes, right? Labor not for the meat which perishes, but labor for the food that will give you everlasting life. It says, you blind Pharisees, first clean the inside of the cup, clean your inward man. And how you gonna clean your inward man? By throwing food in it? By stuffing your face? That's how you gonna clean your man? Clean your inward man? No. It says right here, it says you first clean the inside of the cup or the plate, that the outside also may be clean. At least I'm going to sprinkle clean water on you. Then I'm going to remove the idols from your heart. I'm going to clean you from all your transgressions. Woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which outwardly appear beautiful, but within are full of dead people's bones and all uncleanness, all types of unclean food, all type of unclean things. You look beautiful, but you're dead on the inside. He said, how you know you're dead? Because you got that old heart and that old Ruach, that same Ruach and that same spirit and that same old heart. You ain't got the right offering. You got transgressions and you got idols in your heart. So you also outwardly appear righteous to others, but within you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Cain. He called them all Cain. He called everybody that he was talking to, he called them all Cain. They all Cain. You know what they did? He said, woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites, for you build the tombs of the prophets and decorate the monuments of the righteous, saying, if we had lived in the days of our fathers, we would not have taken part with them shedding the blood of the Nabi'im. Cain, yes you would have. You're the same people. You would have slayed the blood of those animals. Am I my brother's keeper? Am I the keeper of Yirmiyahu? Am I the keeper of Baruch? Am I the keeper of Abadiah? Am I the keeper of Zachariah or Saphaniah? Am I the keeper of Malachi? Am I the keeper of Aydah? See, they got rid of him so bad, they even removed his book. Right? They hated him so bad. Are you your brother's keeper? No. You destroyed him. Are you Yeshayahu's keeper? No. You killed them all. He said, we would have never taken part in that. Yes, you would have. You would have destroyed every last one of them. Cain. And he says what? Thus, you witness against yourselves that you are the sons of those who murdered the Nabi'im. And he said, you still got, even your children got the same heart you got. You know how people say, you done did this, and then your children got the same hatred on the inside of them. So when all this stuff gonna start? When all the hatred gonna start? When I create in you a clean heart, when I make a new heart in you, and I take the heart of flesh, the heart of stone, and put a heart of flesh, and take that old ruach and put a new ruach in you, and I give you some new kidneys, a new liver, new intestine, a new way to digest. Matter of fact, new food. Give you a heart, and discerning heart, to know what to eat and what not to eat. That I'll give you the grain and abundance and the fruits back again. And you'll loathe all of your sin offerings. You know how you loathe it? You know how you would say, do I accept bulls and goats? I ain't eat blood of bulls and goats. He loathed it. He cast it away. The same thing you're going to do. You're going to be just like your image and likeness again of your father. So when he give you your stuff back, your grain and your fruits back, you're going to cast it away and loathe it like your father does. And you're going to be just like him. Why do you think Yahuwah said, do I eat flesh? He threw that stuff away. Why do you think Yahusha said when he came to eat the Pesach, he said, shall I eat flesh with you? You going to ask me that? I loathe that stuff. It's all a part of it. Because he was a virgin. Yahusha was a virgin. He was a virgin. He was creating you his image and likeness. And it says, woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites, for you build the tombs of the prophets and decorate the monuments of the righteous, saying, if we had lived in our fathers, we would not have taken part in shedding the blood of the prophets. They did the animals, though. Thus you witness against yourselves that you are the sons of those who murdered the Nabi'im. Fill up, then, the measure of your fathers. You know what he said after that? You serpents. He said, you Nakash. You Nakash. You know what Nakash is? Their whole life and work is to devour and consume. And you know what? That's all they did? That's all they did was kill the animals in flesh. Matter of fact, it says, you brood of vipers. How are you to escape being sentenced to Sheol, to hell? He said, you ain't no way you're going to be able to escape it. Therefore, I send you Nabi'im and wise men and scribes, some of whom you will kill and crucify. And some you will flog and beat in your congregation, your synagogues, and your Aydah, and persecute from town to town. He said they're going to keep following you around, even after they beat you down in the synagogues, in the congregation, Aydah, they're going to still follow you around from town to town and follow you everywhere you go. That's what these scribes and Pharisees do. And they still do it in 2025 AD. The same people with the same heart and the same ruach. Same people. You know what he said after that? And some of you will flog in your congregation and persecute from town to town, so that you may come so on you may come all the righteous blood shed on the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel. You know who will say? Since you do that to them, you know I say you're guilty at one point, you're guilty of all. You guilty of all the blood that's shed. You Cain. He said you just like Cain, from righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, whom was murdered between the sanctuary and the altar. He said, I'm going to get you from all the way from Bereshith all the way to Malachi. He said, you guilty of all them blood. Truly I say to you, all these will come upon this generation. So all this is how he looks at it. Yahuwah don't look at everything the way we look at it. And the way people look at it is what does not allow people to see these things, right? This is the last couple of things. This is the book of right, this is the book of James. Actually. Book of Hebrews. Actually, go to Book of James. Book of James, chapter 2, verse 18. James, Jacob, chapter 2, verse 18. It says, but some will say, you have Amunah, and I have works. He says, show me your works. Show me your Amunah apart from your works. And I will show you my Amunah by my works. You believe that Elohim is one. You do well. Even the demons believe and shudder. Do you want to be shown, you foolish person, that Amunah apart from works is useless? Was not Abraham, our father, justified by works when he offered his son Yitzhak on the altar? You see that Amunah was active along with his works. That's why Yahuwah said, sacrifices, hey, I love sacrifices, but this is what I hate. This is what I want. You see that Amunah was active along with his works, and Amunah was completed by his works. And the scripture was fulfilled that says, Abraham believed Elohim, and it counted him as righteousness, and he was called a friend of Elohim. He say so. He do all of that, right? So this is the book of Tobit. This is the book of Tobit. It's Tobit chapter 6. Tobit chapter 6. This is the book of Tobit chapter 6. Yeah, book of Tobit chapter 6. Let me get there. Yeah, Tobit chapter 6 and verse, actually, yeah, Tobit chapter 6. Tobit chapter 6. Yeah, book of Tobit chapter 6. Let's get there. Verse 1. Let's see if this is it. Yeah. Tobit chapter 6, verse 1. And as they went on their journey, they came to the evening river of the Tigris, and they lodged there. And when the young man went down to wash himself, a fish leaped out of the river and would have devoured him. He said, man, that thing would have killed him. Then the Malak said to him, take the fish. And the young man laid hold on the fish and drew it to land. To whom the Malak said, open the fish and take the heart. And take the heart, the liver, and the gall, and put them up safely. So he took the heart out, the liver, and the gall. Like you see all that stuff, you see all these sacrifices we did. But he told him to take the heart, the liver, and the gall, and what? And put it up safely. So the young man did as the Malak commanded him. And when he had roasted the fish, they did eat it. Then they both went on their way till they drew near to Ecbatane. Then the young man said to the Malak, his brother, he said to the angel, brother Azarias, so he said his brother Azarias was an angel, a Malak. Oh, because Yahuwah judges between the gods. Because you know the gods, the Elohims were rulers, gods, goddesses, divine ones, and what they call angels. He said, brother Azarias, to what use is the heart and the liver and the gall and the fish? And he said to him, touching the heart and the liver is a devil or a evil spirit. He said, if a devil or evil spirit trouble any, you must make a smoke thereof, therefore, before the man or the woman, and the party shall be no more vexed. As for the gall, it is good to anoint a man that hath whiteness in his eyes, and he shall be healed. And when they were come near to Rages, the Malak said to the young man, brother, today you shall lodge in Rachel, who is thy cousin, and he also hath one only daughter, named Sarah. And I will speak for her, and she may be given to thee for a wife. For to thee doth the right of her appertain, seeing that thou art of her kindred. And the maid is fair. And the what? And the maid is fair and wise. She is a what? She's a virgin. The virgin is fair and wise. 5 are wise, and 5 are foolish. Now therefore, hear me, and I will speak to her father, and when we return from the rages, we will celebrate the marriage. For I know that Rachel cannot marry her to another according to the law of Mashah, but he shall be guilty of death, because the right of inheritance doth rather appertain to thee than any other. Then the young man answered the Malach, I have heard, brother Azarias, that this maid have been given to 7 men, who all died in the marriage chamber. He said, and none of them could come. They came to the marriage chamber, and everybody died in the marriage chamber. It says, and I know, it says, and now I am the only son of my father, and I am afraid, lest if I go in unto her, I die as the others before. For a wicked spirit loveth her, which hurteth nobody, but those which come unto her. Wherefore I also fear lest I die, and bring my father and mother's life because of me to the grave with sorrow, for they have no other son to bury them. Then the Malach said unto him, Dost thou not remember the precepts which thy father gave thee, that thou shouldest marry a wife from thy own kindred? Wherefore hear me, O my brother, for she shall be given thee for a wife, and make thou reckoning of the evil spirit, for in this same night, in this same night shall she be given thee in marriage. This same night. This is all in nighttime. You know, the night watch, in the second and third watch, in the nighttime. It said, and when thou shalt come into the marriage chamber, that thou shalt take the ashes of the perfume, and shall lay it upon some of the heart and the liver of the fish, and shall make a smoke with it. And the Satan devil shall smell it, and flee away, and never come again anymore. But when thou shalt come to her, rise both of you, and pray to Elohim, which is merciful, and he will have pity on you, and save you. Fear not, for she is appointed unto thee from the beginning, and thou shalt preserve her, and she shall go with thee. Moreover, I suppose that she shall bear thee children. Now, when Tobias had heard these things, he loved her, and his heart was affectionately joined to her. He said, what happened? But he said, burn gall, the liver and the heart. He said, burn it and give it smoke, right? So this is the last couple things. This is the last thing, right? So this is the book of. Right, so this is the book of Luke chapter 10, verse 17. The 72 returned, Luke chapter 10, verse 17. The 72 returned with joy, saying, Yahuwah, even the demons are subject to your name. No, the demons are subject to a fish, the heart of a fish, the gall, and you burn it and make a smoke. No, he said, even the demons are subject to your name. He said, surely it ain't going to be for my name, for you. I'm not doing this for my name's sake. And he said to them, I saw Satan falling like lightning from Shamayim. Behold, I have given you authority to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over the power of the enemy, because the spirits are subject to your name. Because his name expels evil spirits. It makes evil spirits leave. It's just like the smoke on the fish. It's like the heart and you burn it in the fat. It's just like that. It's just like the offering that you make on the altar. But the offering that you make on the smoke that you generate and the things that you generate from the altar is what expels the demons. And it says right here, and nothing shall hurt you. He said, nothing gonna hurt you. Nevertheless, do not rejoice in this, that the spirits are subject to you. But rejoice that your names are written in the shny. He said, rejoice at that, right? This is Qahalath 665. Qahalath 665. Qahalath 665. And he said this, and he said right here, Qahalath John 6:66 and 60. 6 and 60. And when many of the disciples heard it, they said, it is a hard saying. Who can listen to it? Who can listen to it? But Yahushua said, knowing in himself that his disciples were grumbling about this, said to them, do you take offense at this? What do you mean? Going to 6 and 52. Qahalath 6:52. The Yahudim then disputed among themselves, saying, how can this man say, give us his flesh? He said, how can this man give us his flesh and eat? So Yahushua said to them, truly I say to you, unless you eat my flesh, eat the flesh of the son of Adam, son of Yahuwah, son of Adam, and drink his blood, you have no life in you. He said, you ain't got no life in you. He said, you still got your sin. You know them sin offerings they did every single year? Them sin offerings they did every week when they sinned? Killing all the animals? He said, you still got sin in you. Whosoever feeds on my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up in the last day. For my flesh is true food, and my blood is true drink. But he said, whosoever feeds on my flesh and drinks my blood abides in me, and I in him. As the living Father sent me, I live because of the Father. So whosoever feeds on me, he also will live because of me. This is the bread which came down from Shamaim. Not like the bread your fathers ate and died. Whosoever feeds on this bread will live forever. Yahushua said these things in the congregation and taught in Capernaum. And when the disciples heard it, they said, this is a hard saying. Who can listen to it? Yahushua said, knowing in himself the disciples were grumbling about this, he said, do you take offense at this? Then what if you were to see the Son of Man ascending to where he was before? It is the Ruach that gives life. The flesh is no help at all. You know how people kill all the animal flesh and slew all the animal flesh and killed all the animals and threw the blood on the side of the altar, then offer up the kidneys, the liver, and the fat and burn it. All that flesh profits, it don't offer you nothing. It don't help you at all. It will never help you. It will never give you a heart transplant. It will never give you a new ruach. It will never cleanse out your kidneys, your liver. It will never give you a new body on the inside. It won't. The words that I've spoken to you, they are ruach, they are life. But there are some who do not believe. He said, it is the ruach that gives life. The flesh has no help at all. You know how people say, this helps. You know how people say, this natural stuff this helps. You know how they say? It ain't helping you at all. The words that I have spoken to you are ruach and life. But there are some who do not believe. For Yahushua knew from the beginning, from the beginning. He said, eat my flesh and drink my blood. When I made Adam into my own image, I never commanded him to do all this stuff y'all doing. For Yahushua knew from the beginning that those who did not believe, and who it was who would betray him. And he said this, and he said, this is why I told you that no one can come to me unless it is granted to him, granted him by the Father. That's the only reason. It says, and he says, after this, many of his disciples turned back and no longer walked with him. So Yahushua said to the 12, do you want to go away as well? So you know how many people in Yahushua? He only had 12 people. You know what he said? Do you want to go as well? And Simon Cobb answered, Master, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. And we have believed and have come to know that you are the Qahalath one of Elohim. Yahushua answered him, did I not choose you, the 12? And yet one of you is saved. Right, so this is the book of, this is the book, right, so this is the book of, this is it. Book of Romans, chapter 8. Romans chapter 8 and verse 9. Romans chapter 8, verse 9. Romans chapter 8, verse 9. You, however, are not in the flesh, but in the Ruach. If in fact the Ruach of Elohim dwells in you, anyone who does not have the Ruach of Mashiach does not belong to him. But if the Mashiach is in you, although the body is dead because of sin, the Ruach the Ruach is the life because of righteousness. If the Ruach of him who raised up Yahushua from the dead dwells in you, he who raised Mashiach Yahushua from the dead will also give life to your mortal body through his Ruach who dwells in you. So he said, the Ruach that dwells in you, the Spirit that dwells in you. Why? He said, how is a Ruach going to raise your Ruach? How is a Ruach going to raise you? He said, I got a Ruach going to raise me? He said, how is the Ruach going to raise you? That's the thing that people gotta understand. This is the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 3. Right, so how is that going to happen? This is the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 1. Actually, 3, verse 3. Do two walk together unless they have agreed to meet? Because they're going to meet inside of your body. He said, hey, you got to meet. Right, you're going to verse 1. Hear this word, because the Ruach is, he said that these words I speak on you that are Ruach in their life, that Yahuwah has spoken against you, O people of Yasharal, against the whole family that I brought out of the land of Mizraim. You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. Do two walk together unless they have agreed to meet. He said, unless they had agreed to meet, right? So, this is the book of Romans chapter 12, verse 1. It says, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers and sisters, by the mercy of Elohim, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. Yeah, you present your bodies a living sacrifice. You know, your mind, your corpus callosum, your left and right brain, your thoughts, your mind, your makashava, your eyes, your ears, your thoughts, your memories, your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your intestines, your stomach, your ruach, your inner man, your inner being, your hands and your feet. You present your body a living sacrifice. You don't cut it out. He said, I'm going to cut out all my stuff. I'm going to rip it out of my heart. Yahuwah already gave you a new heart. How did he do that? This is Romans chapter 6. Romans chapter 6, verse 1. Romans chapter 6, verse 1. What shall we say then? Are we to continue in sin that con may abound, just like the sun comes and raises up the plants in the earth? That sin may abound, you don't want that to continue to grow all the way to the longest day. No. You don't want that. By no means. How can we who died to sin still live in it? Do you not know that all of us who were immersed into Mashiach Yahushua were immersed into his death? We were immersed into his death. How do you think he's going to give you a new heart and a new ruach? I'm going to put my new ruach in you, a new heart in you, and I'm going to raise you up, and I'm going to make the grain abundance, and I'm going to give you the fruits going to be abundant, and there will be no more, nobody going to be a mocking among the nations anymore. And you're going to loathe for all the things you say you did not do good. Do you not know that all of us were immersed into Mashiach, Yahusha, were immersed into his death? We were buried before with him by immersion into death, in order that just as Mashiach was raised from the dead by the kabod of the Father, you know when you raised from the dead by the kabod of the Father? What happened when Yahushua rose from the grave? He told the woman to not touch him. He said, touch me not. I have not ascended to my Father. Why? Because they had to abstain from certain things. Because they were virgins. They were virgins. That's what they were. That's what he's telling you. Because you're a virgin. You are a virgin. And you get what it says. Buried with him by immersion into death, in order that just as Mashiach was raised from the dead by the kabod of the Father, we too might walk in newness of life. He said, you too. He said, why would you think about all of that? And you say, why would he allow us to be able to understand this? Right? Right? This is the book of, so this is the book of, this is a reason why. There is a reason why. Right? So this is the book of Matthew. This is the book of Matthew. This is the book of Matthew. Actually, this is the book. This is the book of Hebrews chapter 10, 26 through 27. Hebrews chapter 10, 26 through 27. Hebrews chapter 10. Actually, no. Hebrews chapter 10, 26. Verse 10 26. For if anyone goes on sinning deliberately after receiving the knowledge of the truth, there is no longer remains a sacrifice for sins. He said there is no more sacrifice for sins for you, but a fearful expectation of judgment and the fury of the fire that consumes these adversaries. What do you mean fury of the fire? That's why he consumed the offering of the sin offering of the animals. If anyone who has set aside the law of Mashah dies without mercy on the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses, how much more punishment do you think will be deserved by the one who has trampled underfoot the Son of Yahuwah and profaned the blood of the covenant by which he was sanctified and has outraged the Ruach of Khan? For we know him who said, vengeance is mine, I will repay. And again, Yahuwah says, he will judge his people. It's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living Elohim. Right, so you look at all that, right, and you look at all that, right? Right, so this is because this is 4th Baruch, chapter 6, Pseudepigrapha, volume 2, 5 through 8. And raising his eyes to Shamayim, he prayed, saying, you are the Elohim who bestows a reward on those who love you. Prepare yourself, my heart. He says, prepare yourself. My heart rejoice and be glad in your tabernacle, saying to your fleshly dwelling, your sorrow has been turned to joy. For the mighty one is coming and will raise you in your tabernacle. For it has not, he said, we're raising your tabernacle. For it has not taken root in you. Be refreshed within your tabernacle in your virgin Amunah, and believe that you will live. He said in your virgin Amunah, right? Or he says Enoch, Canute, chapter 94, 3 through 5. And now I say to you, the righteous do not walk in the path of wicked and in violence. He said, don't do it. Why? Nor in the path of death. And do not approach them, lest you be destroyed. But love and choose for yourselves righteousness and a pleasing life, and walk in the paths of peace, so that you may live and have joy. and hold fast to my words in your thoughts and your hearts, and do not let them be eradicated. For I know that sinners will deceive men to treat wisdom, hukmah, wickedly, so that he will find a place, and all kinds of temptations will not cease. He said, I already know that. It's not going to stop. This is Odes of Solomon, Ode Shalom 33, 1 through 13. Actually, go skipping over to verse 5. It says, however, the perfect virgin stood, who was proclaiming, preaching, and summoning, and saying, you sons of Adam, return, and you daughters, come, and abandon your ways of that corrupter, and approach me. He's meaning approach him. Approach the altar. He said, abandon the ways of the corrupter, and approach me. Isn't that what he told Cain? He told Cain the same thing. He's saying, come and abandon the ways of the corrupter and approach me, and I will enter into you and bring you forth from destruction and make you wise in the ways of truth. Because that's what He's going to give you, a wise heart. Why? So you can be a wise virgin again. Because 5 were wise and 5 were foolish. I'm going to make you wise again. Be not corrupt nor perish. Hear me and be saved. For I am proclaiming unto you the Khan of Yahuwah. And through me, you will be saved and become Barak. I am your judge. I am your what? He said, I'm your judge. Because Yahuwah holds judgment in the midst of the Elohims, in the midst of the gods. And they who have put on me on will not be rejected. All that immersed in Yahushua have been immersed into his death, that he may resurrect to newness of life. He said, new heart, new ruach, new mind, grain in abundance, fruits, and then you loathe all the things that people did before. And it says, my elect one have walked with me, in my ways I will make known to them who seek me, and I shall promise them my name. He said, why would he say, I promised them my name? Because he said, surely not for your sake I do it, for my name's sake I do it. That's what he said in Ezekiel 36, Qahalath 36. Because I promised him my name. And I gave it to him, right? He said, I gave it to him my name, right? 2 Corinthians 11 and 1. I wish you would bear with me in my little foolishness. Do bear with me, for I feel a divine jealousy for you, since I betroth you to one husband, to present you a pure virgin to Yahushua Mashiach. But I am afraid, as the serpent deceived Ka'ur by his cunning. Well, how do you see? Notice he go in the beginning. Notice he ain't in Leviticus. He ain't in Deuteronomy, Devarim. He ain't in Exodus. He right here at Bereshit before Adam fell. He talking about Bereshit before Adam fell, before Adam was taken down. That's what he's talking about. What were they doing in the garden before Adam was taken down? But I am afraid that as the serpent deceived Ka'ur by his cunning, your thoughts, your inward parts, your kidneys, your liver, your heart, your mind, your heart, your mind, your body, your intestines, your stomach, your digestive tract, everything in your body, your thoughts will be led astray from a sincere, pure devotion to Mashiach. He said, your thoughts, and what you think in your mind, your makashba, your yetzer, your neshama, your ruach, in your mind, will be corrupted. Because you lost where you were at first. You know what I'm saying? Because you were immersed into Yahushua and put on his body. And immersed and resurrecting newness of life, both male and females, a Karna Kubah. And then you allow Satan to come and tempt you again. Just like it was in the garden. But what were they doing in the garden before? There was a Karna Kubah, male and female. And then Yahuwah said, commanded them something. And then he said, every tree you don't eat. He told Adam. Then he comes Satan. After they were born again. He said, new heart, new mind. Over the animals. and the creeping things and all the cattle on 1,000 hills. And you know what's sad part about it? Shaul going right back to that. How can we not comparing it to what was in before, what he grew up in with Gamliel? Because he understands. He's going right back to the beginning. This Dead Sea Scrolls 4 column 6 4Q 257. These are the paths in the world to enlighten the heart of Adam. Straighten out in front of him all the paths of true justice, establishing his heart respect for the precepts of Elohim in the ruach of meekness, of patience and generous compassion, eternal goodness and intelligence, understanding and potent wisdom, which trusts in all the deeds of Elohim and depends on his abundant mercy, a ruach of knowledge in all plans of action, of enthusiasm, decrees of justice, and set apart plans with firm purpose of generous compassion, with all the sons of truth. What do you mean all the sons of truth? You know, because everybody believes they're sons of truth in the world. Think about it. You got hundreds and you got thousands of congregations. You got hundreds and thousands and hundreds and millions of places to go congregate. Everybody believes that they're sons of truth. Everybody does. So how are you able to discern between who's the sons of truth and who not? Of magnificent purity which detests all unclean idols. That's how you're going to know. You just eliminated about a whole bunch of people right there, right? That's about 85, 90%. So now you got 10%. And guess what? Who detests all unclean idols, of careful behavior and wisdom concerning everything. So now you done eliminated about another 99%, maybe 97%. And get what it says. Of concealment concerning the truth of the mysteries of the knowledge. These are the foundations of the spirits, the ruachs of the sons of truth. What do you mean? Concealment. How do you conceal the truth? Because he desired truth in the inward parts. I delight in truth in my inward being. In my inward parts. It's concealed from everybody. It's in my inward parts. I desire a moth in my inward parts. My Amarah, the Amarah in my inward mind. His voice. It's inside of me. It's concealed. You can't see it. And it says concealment concerning the mysteries of the knowledge. These are the foundations of the spirits, the ruachs of the sons of truth. And the reward of those who walk in it. Because, you know, we've talked about a full reward. Make sure you don't lose out on your full reward. Or you're going to listen to a Nakash or a Kakash in the garden, like Ka'ul and Adam. Because that's what they did in the beginning. Why do you think Yahuwah said, I'm going to put a new heart and new mind? And everything went back to the beginning. And people say, what are you talking about? It's the same thing. Both male and females are Qahalath. We're going to get into that too on the next part. But it says right here, of concealment concerning the truth and the mysteries of the knowledge. These are the foundations of the ruach, the sons of truth, and the reward of those who walk in it will be what? Will be healing. How you gonna get healed? By consuming all that food, throwing it in your body, storing all that filth up, going to that house of feasting, destroying your body, putting all that in there. How you gonna get a new heart, new mind? You getting a transplant, and your whole body full of things you ain't supposed to have. How you gonna do a surgical procedure on you? How you gonna get healed? You should say, if you don't eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you. Right? And it says right here, plentiful peace in a long life. How you gonna get a long life? Methuselah lived 960 years. Nuach lived 70 years. What how does he live? No. 950. So you got all these people living all this long. So he said, plentiful peace and long life. Fruitful offspring within all everlasting barak. Eternal enjoyment and endless life, a crown of kabod and majestic raiment and eternal life. All you're going to get. You're going to get all that. However, the spirit of deceit, the ruach of deceit belongs greed. That's what you eat. Does not the ear taste the word? as the mouth does the food? That's what you eat. You eat greed, sluggishness in the service of justice. You eat this. Wickedness, falsehood, pride, haughtiness of heart. It's in your inward parts. Trickery, cruelty, much insecurity, impatience, much foolishness, impudent enthusiasm for appalling acts performed in the passion, filthy paths of service of impurity, blasphemous tongue, blindness of eyes, hardness of hearing, stiffness of neck, hardness of heart, in order to walk in the paths of darkness and evil cunning. All that's a part in such things like these. You know what I'm saying? They try to skip it. They say, that's it. Such things like these. Right? There's a lot of them. And you know what he says? And the visitation of those who walk in it will be an abundance of afflictions at the hand of the Malachia destruction, and eternal damnation by scorching wrath of Elohim that revenges, of permanent terror and shame without end, humiliation of the dark regions. And all those, he said, and all the ages of generations there shall be in bitter weeping and harsh evils in the abyss of darkness and destruction without there being a remnant or survival for them. You know what happens after that? Just like Qahalath says, it's better to go to the house of mourning than the house of feasting. He said, that's the end of all mankind. Everybody going there. But he's literally telling you, when you walk like this, he said, don't expect any visitations to be, that's all light. And have a vision of the Qahalath Malachim. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting those visions. That's not going to happen. You ain't going to get that. That's not going to happen. You know, you don't want to sugarcoat nothing, but that's the whole point. It's not going to happen like that. But it says right here, it says, in bitter weeping and harsh evils in the abyss of the darkness until destruction, without there being a remnant or survival for them. Right? That's what's going to happen when you walk in that. Right? This is book of Jeremiah. Sorry, I gotta go here. I have to say this. Right? This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 14. Actually, right. So this is the book of it's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 14. Jeremiah, chapter 14. Jeremiah, chapter 14, verse 1. Jeremiah, chapter 14, verse 1. 14. And it says, the word of Yahuwah came to Jeremiah concerning the drought of Yehuda, the drought. Yehuda mourns and her gates languish. The people lament on the ground. And the cry of Jerusalem goes up. Right? Her nobles send their servants to the water. And they come, it says, and they come to the cisterns and they find no water. They return with their vessels empty, and they are ashamed and confounded and cover their heads. He said they are ashamed. Why? Because they ain't got nothing. He said there's a drought. You know what happens in a drought? When ain't no water, it's gonna be a famine. And you know how he talk about putting a new heart in you, and a new ruach, and the grain gonna be in abundance, and then the fruit trees gonna come back. If I give you a new heart, new mind, matter of fact, and you're gonna loathe all the things, the sins you did, and the sin offerings, I'm gonna give you a grain and your fruits back. You know what happened? It was a drought. You know why it's a drought? Because of their hearts and their ruach, in their spirit. Right? And it said Yehuda mourns and her gates languish, her people lament on the ground and cries goes to Jerusalem. Right? This is Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 1. Right? So Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 1, Jeremiah chapter 14 and verse 1, that word, right, it says the word of Yahuwah came to Jeremiah. I'm reading another version. That was ESV. It came to Jeremiah concerning the dearth or the drought. That word for famine is Batsarath. It means a drought. Restraint and no rain. It says rain. Right, because we know that. It says Yehuda mourneth, right? So they are a ball. They are mourning, and the gates languish, right? The gates languish. They are in a maul. They are feeble. You know, you got weak knee. You ever got weak knee before? Weak in your knees? Because there's a drought. He said famine, pestilence, and earthquakes, right? It's a drought. They languish. It says they are black. It says kadar. That means to be ashy. That is dark colored. To mourn in sackcloth and ashes. To be black. That's what color ash is. When you actually have a famine and you don't have a new heart and a new mind, he make you black to the ground. Right? You make your knees weak and your knees and your body feeble because you ain't got the proper nutrients, and then he make you get weak to the ground, and guess what? You start to fast. You don't have any food anymore. And you know what happens when you have no food anymore? You become humble, and you hit the ground, and you throw in sackcloth and ashes because it's black, and you hit the ground, and you know what happens after that? He can do a heart transplant. He can do a new ruach transplant. But in order for him to do the new ruach and the heart transplant, one has to be black to the ground. He said, we ain't talking about skin color. We talking about sackcloth and ashes. We talking about covering your head and throwing sackcloth and ashes. Black dirt, dust. And guess what happens? And the cry, right? Because you know, to cry, teshuka, it says suka, right? Sehuka, right? Screech, their cry of Jerusalem is gone up. Why are they crying? Because he just sent the molecule of destruction upon the land. And now they black to the ground. And you know what happens when you black to the ground? You're not eating any food. You're not eating any food, not no more. And you know what happens after that? He said, you know, I can give you a new heart and a new mind. I can give you a new ruach. And I can make you all over again. Your heart of stone, take the heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. And I can help you out. But as long as you're in that state, and you can stand up like Cain and watch your brother and make fun of his offering and then push him aside, he said, I can't do nothing for you. He said, I can't do nothing for you. Only thing I can do is judge you. When you hit the ground and then you find yourself in that situation, then you'll find yourself in a better situation, in a better state of mind. Right? Right. So this is the book of Psalms, I'm sorry. We almost finished. This is the last three things and I'm done, I promise. So this is the book of Psalms 109. Psalms 109 and 1. Psalms 109 and 1. It says, be not silent, O Elohim, of my praise, for wicked and deceitful mouths are open against me, speaking against me with lying tongues. They encircle me with words of hate and attack me without a cause. In return for my love, they accuse me. So reward me evil for good and hatred for my love. Right? So look at all that. He says, so why do you think all this takes place? Verse 10 says, may his children wander about and beg, seeking food from the ruins they inhabit. What you think they were just doing in Jeremiah? It was a famine, ain't no food. They started crying. They hit the ground, sackcloth and ashes. He's like, man, everything's gone. He said, may the creditor seize all that he has, and may the strangers plunder the fruits of his toil. He said, I'm going to give you all the fruit trees. In Ezekiel 37, I'm going to give you the fruit trees back. But it said right here, let there be none to extend kindness to him. He said, there ain't going to be nobody. It says, nor any that pity his fatherless children. May his prosperity be cut off, and may his name be blotted out in the second generation. But how you get out of something like this? You know, people use this, and then they just totally just destroy people. But he say, so how do I get out of this, right? Because that's the whole point. He said that's the whole point, right? So this is the book of Psalms 102 and 8. Psalms 102 and 8, actually 102 and 6. I am like a desert owl of the wilderness, like an owl in the waste places. I lie awake and I am lonely, I'm the lonely sparrow on the housetop. He's like, man, I'm the only one. He said, I'm lonely, right? He said, and all the days my enemies taunt me. He said, that's all they do. Those who deride me use my name for a curse. That's all they do. Your life is cursed. You lost your family. You lost your career. They say all types of stuff. You going broke. You nothing. Look at you. You had a famine. You about to lose everything. You know what EU did the same thing to Job too? He's like, Yahuwah, let not my blood be covered. He said, let it not be covered. That cry from the ground, he said, don't even let it be covered. He said, I hope you see it. Because you know, when Cain killed Abel, he's like, am I my brother's keeper? And he says, they deride my name for a curse, for I eat ashes like bread. He said, I eat the ashes like bread, right? He said, why would he say that? It's Psalms 102, and I'm just going to get out of it real quick. Psalms 102, I got that word for ashes. Psalms 102. Psalms 102. Psalms 102. The word for ashes is efer. It means best through. It means ashes, right? It just means ashes, right? But it says, I eat ashes like bread and mingle tears with my drink, because of the indignation of your indignation and anger, for you have taken me up and thrown me down. When you should have known. But then their knees got weak. Yahuwah sent the famine. It was a drought. And their knees got weak, and it hit the ground. Couldn't stand up no more. And they were black to the ground with ashes. And guess what happened? My days are like an evening shadow, and I wither away like grass. Because you know why? When the sun, and you know water and the sun comes out, you know what happens? All the grass die. But you, O Yahuwah, are enthroned forever. You are remembered throughout all generations. You will arise and have pity on Zion. You're going to have pity on them. It is a time of, it is the time to favor her. The appointed time has come. He's like, it's time to favor her. The appointed time has come. For your servants hold her stones dear and have pity on her dust. Right? He said, it's the time. He said, why would he say that? He said, you're going to have pity on Zion. Right, so this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30 and verse 16. Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 16. 30 and 12. Jeremiah 30 and 12. I don't know why you got me going there. I got one more slide, but here we go. 30 and 12. For thus says Yahuwah, your hurt is incurable, and your wound is grievous. He's like, they struck me in my kidneys. Remember how Job said, they struck me in my kidneys. Matter of fact, no, that was what Yahushua said when they pierced him in his side. And out came blood and water. And you know what Yahushua said? Don't cover my blood up. Let it cry from the ground. Why do you think Shaul said, from henceforth let no man trouble me, for I bear in my marks the mark of the Yahushua Mashiach? Why do you think he said that? It says, for thus, Yahuwah, your hurt is incurable, and your wound is grievous. There is none to uphold your cause. There's nobody. No medicine for your wound. No healing for you. You know what I'm saying? No healing for you, for your lovers have forgotten you. He said, all your lovers have forgotten you. He said, they forgot who I am. They don't even know who I am. Not no more. They care nothing for you. He said, we just read it in Psalm 109. He said, don't even let nobody even be no help for him. Nobody. For I have dealt you a blow of an enemy. He said, I dealt you a blow of an enemy. The punishment of a merciless foe. because your guilt is great. He said, your guilt is great because your sins are flagrant. Why do you cry out over your hurt? Isn't that what it did in Jerusalem when they were black to the ground in sackcloth and ashes? Your pain is incurable because your guilt is great, because your sins are flagrant. I have done these things to you. Therefore, all who devour you shall be devoured. Now you see why he told Cain, whoever touch you, sevenfold. And all who devour you, all these Nakashas and Kakash, because that's what their whole life is, their hand, we talk about Kakash. With the men of Allah, he said their hand is only, they work in labor of their hand is to devour. He said all that devour you, their whole life is and work is to devour, like Nakash. He said, therefore all who devour you shall be devoured, and all your foes, every one of them, shall go into captivity. Those who plunder you shall be plundered, and all who prey on you, I will make prey. Now you see why you will be doing these things, because he has some other people. People say, why he do that? Because he got some other people around. He said, I remember you people, all that devouring you did. So you know what I did? I brought this person this low. I made him this way, just so that you can come and devour him, so I can get you. He said, so he put you in this state just so that they can come and start devouring you with their words and their tongues. That's how we read in the Testament of Shem, Testament of Yitzhak, Isaac. They come and kill you with their words. And you know what they do? He said, I did that on purpose, just so that I can catch them in what they did. He said, I set the prey trap. He said, they go to prey, come to eat it. And they took the bait. And you know what happened? You would say, I'm going to devour them. For I will restore health to you. And now after he do all that, he said, for I will restore health to you. You know how he going to restore health to you? He's going to give you a new heart, a new mind. I'm going to give you a new kidney, new mind, new heart, new liver, all that, intestines. I'm going to give you a new mind, new heart. And guess what? And I'm going to pour clean water on you. And I'm going to clean you from all your idols and your uncleanness. I'm going to do it right in their face. Matter of fact, I'm going to give you the fruit trees, and I'm going to give you the grain in abundance. And he says, and I will restore health to you, and your wounds I will heal. All your lovers have forgotten you. Man, they don't even know you. He said, your wound is incurable. And then what he said? He said, there's no way you can get healed from that. Man, you ain't coming back from this one. You know how people say. But who you put your trust in? Who you trust in? You get what he said? He said, ain't no way you could be who you need to be now. Who you gonna put your trust in? That's why David always say, my enemy's cruel. He said, let me fall into the hands of Yahuwah. I'd rather fall in the hands of Yahuwah than to fall in some of these people's hands. He was like, nope. He says, your wounds I will heal, declares Yahuwah, because they have called you an outcast. Because they did what? Because they called you an outcast. They cast you out. It is Saum in whom no one cares. He said, I'm going to show mercy to Saum. He said, nobody cares. Thus says Yahuwah, behold, I will restore the fortunes of the tents of Yaakov and have compassion on his dwellings. And the city shall be rebuilt on its mound, and the place shall stand where it used to be. He said, I'm going to bring you right back where you were, where you used to be. It says, and out of them shall come songs. Oh. Songs of thanksgiving and the voices of those who celebrate. He said, I'm going to give you right back. Just because they did that. He said, you know what I'm going to do? Even though they cast you out, he said, I'm going to bring it all. I'm going to give it all back. Don't worry about it. Don't trust. Keep trusting, right? And the voices of those who celebrate, and I will multiply them, and they shall not be few. And I will make them honored, and they shall not be small. Their children shall be as they were of old. and their congregation shall be established before, and I will punish all who oppress them. Because they came. They all are Cain. Their princes shall be one of themselves. Their ruler shall come out from their midst. And I will make him draw near, and he shall approach me. For who would dare of himself to approach me, declares Yahuwah. And you shall be my people, and I will be your Allah. And he said, who would dare? You would like, who would dare approach him? He's like, why would, he said, ain't nobody that bold. He said, who would do that? The only person that can approach Yahuwah is his son. Is his son. That's the only person that can approach him. Why do you think when he left in the book of Acts, what did he do? He said, why are you standing in Shamayim looking up in amazement? His same Yahushua you seen going up, he coming back and like, man, the same way he left. When he come back, he said, when he come back, he said, who would dare approach me? Only the person that can approach him is Yahushua Mashiach. Full of all his kabod. He said, who gonna do that? It's him. Right? It's all of you can now 1, 2, 24 to 28. Let what you heard from the beginning abide in you. Isn't that what Shaul was saying? But I'm afraid, even as Satan, Nakash, or those who devour, his evil cunning deceive you and devour you. Devour your heart and your mind. Right? That's the whole point. That's what he's going to do. He's going to devour your heart and your mind. And he says, that what you heard from the beginning abide in you. And if what you heard from the beginning abides in you, then you too will abide in the Son, the Father, the Son and the Father, the life of the house and the strength of the house. And this is the promise he has made to us, eternal life. I write these things about those who are trying to deceive you, but the anointing you received in him abides in you. It's inside of you. Atzah Adam, he made you with the same wisdom and knowledge and understanding that he made Adam with. He made you from the same, the dirt that you were made from was made from the same wisdom and understanding he made the earth with, and all the Shamayims in the earth. The water you were immersed in was made by the same same word, the bar that made all the universe. The body you dwell in was made by the same word and the bar and the wisdom and all the understanding that he made the whole universe with. Your mind is made by the same thing. Your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your intestines, your inward man, everything was made by the same wisdom and understanding that made all the universe and the whole cosmos, all to the highest Shamayim, to the past the 7 Shamayim. The very word, the bar that made your body, made you. And the same Ruach that dwells in you was made by the same Debar and the word that made everything. So you're literally the walking word right now, if you believe it. Your whole body, from your hands and your feet to your eyes and your ears, to your mouth and your nose, to the parts of your body you can't see. But even Abraham said, where did I get all these? I was ignorant of these things. I didn't even know these things existed. He couldn't even see the rest of his body. But at the same time, all these things exist inside of you. And it's always been here. He would say, I just never knew. But it's always here. Your whole body's made out of it. He said, but the anointing you received in him abides in you. It's already there. It's been there since you've been born. And you have no need that anyone should teach you. He said, Yahuwah, if you go meet with Yahuwah, you know how he talks about, can 2 walk together except they agree to meet? He said, go meet with Yahuwah, with your Ruach. Because he's always been inside of you. It's just the fact that humans have hid it from you. Or you mean the scribes and the Pharisees and the elders and the teachers and all the people hid it from you. They hid it. He said, man, you yourselves locked the keys up for people to get in. You yourselves can't even get in. They hid the keys of knowledge and understanding and wisdom from you. So Yahuwah kind of unlock everything. He said, I'm kind of unlock the door. But his anointing teaches you about everything And it's true, and it's no lie, just as it has taught you, abide in him. And now, little children, you know, Adam and Kuhu, Zakar Nakubah, abide in him, so that he, when he appears, you may have confidence. Father, Abba, look what all I did. I took care of all your animals and your creatures and your creeping things and the flying mantis and the hummingbirds. I harmed none of them. Look how all they flying around, right? Look at all the cattle and the ox and the goats and the lambs and all of them sleeping in the pasture, and they just sitting there. Everybody's all joyful and happy. Look at the lion, how it's just running around. It's not destroying. Look at all this stuff. Everything's all back. Look at me. Right? You ain't gonna shrink back in shame, right? He said you're gonna shrink from him in shame at his coming, right? Because he's gonna come. Am I my brother's keeper? You know what they're gonna say. But he gonna be like, so what you do with all my stuff? What you do with everything I created? I created the animals, and I created that other person too, with the same word that you're supposed to obey. So we look at all that. Look at Yahushua Mashiach. There's a lot more, of course. You know, there's a whole bunch more. But even with the natural man, the natural thoughts, but we look at our inward man and the unseen forces that created everything. And look at the things that are to be and things that come to be, right? And things that's coming to an existence in this world. Just by all the seeds that were sown in the world from the beginning, all the lies that were told from the beginning, all the deceitful works of man from the beginning, and all those seeds were sown some 6,000 years ago. And some 6,000 years ago, even as he caused a flood, those seeds sprung right back up in the earth, and they grew and they grew and they grew, and now they're getting ready to bear more fruit again in this time. So look at everything that's happened. We look at the truth in our inner being and our inner thoughts, and we look at the love, Ahab of Yahushua Mashiach, the first fruit. Knowing that love that we supposed to have, the love that we have on the inside, that's already been here since the beginning, is only canceled and drowned out by the evil inclination that was implanted in us. Knowing that we, even as we search ourselves and we search our own being, we say, for the wages of sin is death. But we had to ask ourselves, where did the sin come from? And we say the thought inventory of finding out, just like in a private investigator, when you get an autopsy on a body, they take out the organs, they take out the brain, the mind, they take out the heart, and they put it and weigh it in the balance, and they check to see what was the cause of death in your life. And you ask yourself, what was the cause of sin in your life? It could have happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 30 years ago. He said, what caused that sin to rise up in your life? Was it from another person that you encountered? Did you encounter a Nakash? Did y'all have an encounter and that sin caused death to you? What was the cause of death? Because Yahuwah does an autopsy, and he sees, just like Adam, he calls it deep sleep. He takes out all your organs, and he looks and sees what was the cause of death. And then when he sees a heart, he said, you know, I'm going to put a new heart in there. That broken heart, you know, that broken one you had, I'm going to take that one out, and I'm going to give you a new one. I'm going to heal your broken heart. You know that one part of your body, that liver, that kidney that got hard-hearted, I'm going to put a new one in there. I'm going to give you a new mind. I'm going to give you a new thought process. Put that in there. I'm going to give you a new intestines too, because that one's all messed up. Then he closed it all back up. And then you know what he says? Nafak Neshama Ruach. I give you a new soul. I make you new again, and I give you a new life. But you got to find out where your cause of death was. So we look at ourselves. We look at all the causes of death in our life. Even ourselves could have been the cause of death. And we look at our own will. We look at our own thoughts and our own mind. And we look at the love and compassion that Yahushua extends to us from his Father to us, with his hands and his feet. And that's his walk and what he does with his yard and his car. He said that's why he stretched out his hand and said, handle me and see. It is I. And he did it on the fourth day of creation. And even as the light shines on the fourth day, he said, let there be lights in the Shamayim. Let your light upon the earth. Let them be for signs, Ayoth, seasons, days, and years, right? And muads. For all these are a part of the seasonal cycle that's fixed. But there is a light that was here before that. And that light lights your inward man. And he gives life to your inward man before Adam was even made. So we look at ourselves, we look at our inward being, we look at our inward thoughts, we look at the love and compassion that he has and that must dwell inside of us. From our heart to our lips and from our belly to our mouth. That we may breathe out truth of mouth, and they may be continually on our lips. That we may speak it when we sit in the house, we walk by the way, we lie down, we rise up. For our breath is given to us by Yahuwah. If he takes our breath from the earth, no flesh will survive. But one thing will survive. Your ruach, your spirit, your soul. Right? So we look at ourselves, we look at our inner being. So as we move forward in what he calls his love, his aha. For our love is only temporary, but his love is eternal. For the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth.